Oh man, oh man, oh man. Hey, how's it going, everybody out there? Welcome to my Safe Gayven. Thank you guys for joining us for another live interview with the vampire therapy session here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time joining me on a live, hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Michael. I'm the Black Gay Comic Geek. And I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the force. I like to talk about superheroes, video games, action movies, sci-fi, horror, fantasy. And of course, I like to talk about Black representation and queer representation. And if you are interested in supporting your boy, do me a favor, hit the like button on this stream, on this video. That'll tell YouTube that you guys are enjoying this live. It'll push this live out to more people to get more eyes on it. My goal before this season is over, because I almost hit it. I almost hit 100 viewers on the live at one time, which would be the most I've ever had. So you could do that by commenting on the video. I see the comment section flying already, hitting the like button. And also, support your boy. I got a Decolonize Your Fantasy shirt, because that's something I always talk about. Read fantasy by Black authors, Black creators, Black leads. And so link in the bio if you want to support your boy, get you a blood, sex, or magic shirt, etc., etc. But anyway, with that said, as you guys know, I say it all the time, I don't like to do these lives alone. I like to have conversations. And this is a person I'm going to need to have. We both need to have a full therapy session with this. We kind of talked about it a little bit beforehand, but I didn't want to have, monopolize the full conversation before we actually went live. And I wanted to get general reactions from the two of us. But this person is his third time on the channel. She's still a guest, but she is a movie producer or social media producer, not a movie producer. Maybe that'll come later, but social media producer. She works for Paramount. She works for Nuvi. She's done things with Marvel. She's working with My Dream Quinceañera, and that is fellow queer content creator Amanda Just Vibin.
Hello, everybody. I am back to
Amanda.
Everything.
Introduce yourself and tell the people what you got going on and everything, where they can find you, yada yada.
Gotcha. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Amanda, aka Amanda Just Vibin, and I am a social producer, content creator. I talk about media, commentary, comedy, just all that good stuff. And I really love gay vampires. So that is why I'm here.
And with that said, actually, let me keep it open really quick. Guys, check out the makeup. She came on here looking. I'm like, dang, maybe I need to go do something. Maybe I should just, while the camera's on her right now, go run and put some makeup on. Because I'm like, she's looking flawless.
Thank you. I was Regina George about 40 minutes ago. So that is left over because it is Halloween spooky season. And the scariest thing is a mean girl. So I dressed up as Regina George, and you guys will see content from that. I already posted some videos, and I will post some stuff on the Pretty Picture app. So so if you see anything on my hairline, it's because I had a wig, and if you comment on it, you're homophobic. So
right. You're homophobic and you're anti-Afro-Latina. Well, with that said, guys, if you can't tell from the title of the episode, we are talking spoilers for episode 6. And oh man, I don't know if I'm ready. But with that said, I see the chat is flying already. We have Thai. Hello from Brazil. Hey, how's it going? We're international here over on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. Not Nine Tails, Phoenix. I was right. We're gonna talk about that. NAP. Hey, how's it going? T-Lot 20. I knew Rasheed was there. We're going to talk about it. Rain Days, this episode. OMG. Hey, how's it going? Justin Marcellus, I see you in the chat. iStar Sab. Swale J. SYWELJ. Michael, where you at? I'm here right now. Hey, I see you in the chat. Narius 21. Nina Simone. Cecile Bruce, missing. Andrew Clark. We ready. Deja Green. Hey, Michael. Hey, how's it going? Hey, what is it? Price PNM. Hey. Antonio Silva de Oliveira. Amanda. You got fans over here. Lay Leslie, I see you in the chat. I'll get to that question later. I got some Facebook comments coming in. Soul Graphic 74, I see you. Kumromi Holder, Tamia Howard, Horror Geek, I see all of you guys in the chat. So with that said, guys, again, I'm going to be paying attention to the chat and everything like that. But if you want to support your boy, you want to get out a question, a comment, Bree Diverse, sorry I'm late. You're not late. We haven't even really started the conversation yet, doing the introductions. But with that said, if you want to get, support the channel, support your boy. If you really want to get out a comment, question, or even if you just want to support the channel, if you want to leave a super chat, it's greatly appreciated. It's not expected, but it's appreciated. But like I said, the best way to support the channel and this live stream is make sure you hit that like button and participate in the conversation, because even though it's Amanda and I talking, it's a live conversation. We're not just talking out in the ether for ourselves. We are the lightsabers and you are the Jedi. So wield us however you want in terms of like questions and keeping the conversation going. So yeah, with that said, Amanda, episode 6. But before we really dive deep into this episode, I gotta say, apparently you and I need to hand in our review cards, because like neither one of us going to Nine Tails Phoenix conversation about, I was right. We were going hard about Rasheed. I was like, people in the chat was like, no, I think he's a vampire, or I think something's wrong with Rasheed. We're like, no, we think Rasheed is human. We saw him go into the sunlight. That was wrong. We're like, but he was drinking from Louis was drinking from him in the other episode. That can't be right. He's got to be human. We were wrong. Like, we could just go down the line of how we were wrong. Like, and then you get to this episode, and it's like, then you know how the people be like, bitch, you thought. That's exactly how I was. When I got to the end of this episode, I felt completely bamboozled. But yeah, tell everybody how you felt.
No, I made a video and I'm like, because I was ragging on Louis a couple weeks ago about how like he really just like let slide all the weird shit Lestat did, right? And like like levitating and floating. No, it's the gay panic that's the problem. Like I was ragging on him, right? I'm like, oh, how did he not notice he was a vampire, right? Tell me why. I am the same person, because I dead ass have been watching this series for weeks, and I was like, Rasheed's just weird. He's just weird. He's just a weird dude. Like he only wears gloves all the time. He doesn't really step out into the sun. He's just a weird guy. No, I avoided every single sign, and I whizzed by every flag. Like I am a simple person, and I would absolutely accidentally meet a vampire and not notice.
Yeah, I'm like, we would definitely be caught off guard, because like, yeah, we were the main ones. Like, how did they not notice Claudia's eyes or notice and then it's like,
well, I'm just so curious as to his eyes.
And that's what I was just about to get into, though. So I'm like, so part of me is still kind of curious, like, maybe we're still ultimately right in the sense of Rasheed might not be a vampire, because I know a lot of people are speculating that he's Armand. Maybe he's not a vampire. Maybe he's immortal, because there are other creatures in Anne Rice's world. So maybe we're not necessarily asking the right questions. Yeah, it's obvious based on this that he's not human, but he still might not be a vampire. So he might not even be the vampire Armand.
No, I'm very confused. I'm like, I see his eyes, and like his eyes aren't that weird. Like they look like normal human eyes.
Because I was like, I doubt, because I'm like, also maybe he's wearing contacts. I don't know, but books, girls, and person. Maybe he's a Mayfair witch.
Maybe like somebody in my comment section said he might be a witch. However, off topic, the actor for Rasheed might be a vampire, because that man is pushing 40.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Wow,
like
crazy. I thought he was in his 20s.
Yeah, same. I thought he was in his 20s. I looked up his age. And nah, he's like 38. Homeboy really said like fountain of youth. But
I mean, yeah. It's kind of like Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is like,
Paul Rudd's a vampire.
Yeah, unproblematic white man. He drinks his water and he minds his business, because he's not aging like milk like some of these other people.
Like I'm so shook, because like, but here's the thing too. Here's one thing that also, because this whole show, like everybody, first of all, like not Louis gaslighting the hell out of Daniel, okay? Like, not Louis gaslighting the hell out of Daniel, first of all. Second of all, what if, like, maybe even Daniel could be remembering something wrong or just trying to, like, because, again, he fell asleep. So what if it wasn't really a memory? What if it was just, like, a combination memory / dream?
I think it was both, because obviously he was dreaming. But remember, he said in the beginning of the episode, I keep waking up right before you ask me back to your apartment.
Yeah. So it might be a recurring memory / dream.
So when we get to the end, because remember also Daniel mentioned like he was always coked out or high or whatever during that time.
So we can't really remember on the tapes and the tapes.
And this whole show has been about like the what was the phrase?
The recollection of, like, the Odyssey of Recollection.
Yeah, the Odyssey of Recollection. And so this is now Daniel's Odyssey of Recollection, when he's like, wait a minute, I met Rasheed already. Yeah. And that's why he woke up like, oh, what the fuck? And that's exactly what I like, the look that he had on his face when he was like, what the fuck? That's exactly my reaction. I was like, what the fuck?
No, I gasped. My husband was asleep and I was like, I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, but like this whole episode, like I felt bamboozled. I was bamboozled. And also, I've been listening to the audiobook of Interview with the Vampire, because I haven't reread the book in like 10 years. And the line that the exchange between Louis and Daniel in the bar is almost word for word a like passage out of the book, and it was so cool. And I was like, oh my god, like they've integrated the source material so well. And particularly when he was just like, when he pointed out Louis' accent, he's like, oh, I have an accent. Like, yeah, it's the way that you like the way the words. I was like, oh my god, I literally just heard that like in the audiobook. So that was like a really cool little tidbit.
But wait, Swywell J is saying Rasheed is human. He walked in the sun passing the doctor while casting a shadow. And I'm like, did he? Because there was a moment in the very beginning of this episode where it's like a stark contrast where the doctor was in the sun administering Daniel's medicine while Rasheed and Louis were in the UV protected area of the home.
I rewatched that part just to make sure I wasn't tripping. He walked behind it. He wasn't in direct sunlight. He was near it. Because they can be out in the day. They just can't.
Just not in direct sunlight.
Like, kind of like how, like, Louis is just like, oh, like, it's daytime, but he has the UV protection. As long as they have the UV protection, they're fine.
Because that's what I thought when we saw him talking to Daniel on the balcony. I was like, no, he was in the sun.
No, he was behind it.
No, he was behind it. But missing, does Anne Rice do werewolves? Daniel called him a laugh. Anne Rice does do werewolves. However, I don't know if there are werewolves in the Vampire Chronicles books, but she does have a book called The Wolf Gift, which is about a werewolf. And as far as I know, it doesn't connect to the Vampire Chronicles. So I'm not sure if that's something that they're going to inject in the series. Because, yeah, I don't know. Do you know if are there werewolves in the Vampire Chronicles? Because I know they're like witches and demons, the devil, Memnoch, or whatever.
I don't recall. Like, I recall fucking time travel, but, like, not werewolves. Like, there's other wild shit, but there isn't. I don't think there are werewolves.
And as far as this, did Louis take the memory from him, now allowing him to remember it? I don't think so. I think Louis kind of testing him to see what he remembers, because he even asked, like, are you still having the dreams? So I feel like Louis knows at a certain point he's probably going to remember, but I don't think he took the memory away. I don't think it's like Harry Potter, where, I mean, maybe because vampires in this show, new powers are getting revealed every day. So like,
yeah, like Louis just like, if you can fly, you tell us that you can fly. Like, yeah. So I don't particularly think that he took the memory away. I just think that he's kind of like taking advantage of the fact that like Daniel used to be a drug addict.
Yeah, he's definitely taking advantage.
And I think he's just gaslighting him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Young. Oh, and this is the thing. Young Daniel is a bi icon. Yeah, Antonio. So like this episode actually finally confirms, even though we talked about it earlier, but this episode confirms that Daniel is bisexual, because he does mention like, I really want to interview you, but if something else happens, then like,
If we hook up,
yeah,
like,
if we end up fucking, like, I'm totally down for it, but
but I remember I watched the video and they're like, they straight washed him. Like, they didn't straight wash him. He's most likely bisexual, like he was. Like, just because you marry women doesn't mean like it gets erased, you know? Like, somebody could just be either A, deep in the closet, or B, just end up with somebody of the opposite sex. So that's just like I when I saw that one person's review, I was just like, no, I don't think that's the take that you want. Like, but a prime example, I ended up with the person of the male variety, but it didn't vanish the bisexuality. Like, it's still here. So, but yeah, no, Daniel is definitely.
we definitely gonna talk about, because I got some thoughts about speaking of vanishing the bisexuality. Oh man, I got some words for a certain vampire that starts with the LE. But getting into that, so we see that Louis is continuing the conversation about what the crazy ending of last week, where Louis said it took him basically almost 5 weeks.
5 weeks
To fully heal. He was blind in one eye. He had fractured or shattered vertebrae,
and
punctured lung. What else?
He's broken leg and arms.
Yeah,
like,
broken. Basically, he was fucked. He was fucked up.
If he was, he would have been a smear on the floor.
And to be perfectly honest, though, like, I'm so in love with Jacob Anderson. Even when he's all bloody and bruised, when he was laying in the coffin, like all like vulnerable, I was like, I just want to hold you, baby, and tell you to be all right. Like, I just want to tell you, you know, kiss your wounds and nurse you back to health. Like, I wasn't, even though he's all bloodied and stuff, I wasn't disgusted at all. I was still just like, he's still fine, even when he's still fine, even when he looks like all bruised. It just made me all that more caring. Well, yeah, I did feel bad for him, and Claudia, and I loved Claudia in this episode.
Same.
I loved Claudia in this episode, but
she really grew into her character, and I love.
She definitely did, and even though. And I don't know if this is a flaw in the casting, because the actress is actually like 19. Yeah. So Claudia is still supposed to be 14, but I don't see her as that 14-year-old anymore at all.
Do I had to remind myself that she's still technically in the body of a 14-year-old, but you even see it like she's dressing older, and not like the caricature that she did back in like episode 4, was it? When she killed
episode 4. Yeah, it was episode 4.
Like, she's dressing older in a quote unquote age appropriate way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the overdone like lipstick, something that an older woman would wear on a younger body. Like, she doesn't look near.
Yeah, like you could tell she was playing dress up in episode 4, but in this, like, no, she's a grown. Notice how I'm using quotes. A grown woman.
Yeah, like you can, and even the way she speaks, like she speaks so differently than she did when she was first introduced. And it's like the actress like did an amazing job, because even though consciously knowing like she's still technically in the same body, like I felt that progression in her character, and I felt the maturity, and I felt her actually getting older and growing up, even though it's still in the body and the face of the same person that we saw in the end of episode 3.
And that's why I was saying, like, I don't know if that's like a kind of a flaw in the casting, because now we're seeing her, because the actress, like I said, the actress is 19, so now we're seeing her in the body of a 19-year-old, but she's not supposed to be. But at the same time, I get the point, is like, we're supposed to see her as older.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because again, this adaptation is different than the previous 2 that we've gotten. I think it's the way that the story is kind of playing out, we are feeling and seeing this, or at least I am, we are feeling and seeing the story in the eyes and in the shoes of the characters that are telling them. So I don't think it kind of takes me out when I look at Claudia as older, because that's probably how Louis sees her. And it's just that, like, Louis already sees her as a sister, so it goes from daughter, childish, smaller, to now you are more of my equal. And it reflects in that. So I don't necessarily hate it, because it's like, I feel like we're still seeing the story through different lenses.
Yeah. And the chat is flying tonight. I'm just like hard to keep up. But La Leslie, what are Rasheed and Louis playing at? Is Daniel getting some synthesized vamp blood to heal him? No, I don't think Daniel was getting what was happening tonight. Daniel was just getting his medication for I don't know if it was Parkinson's. I know he has Parkinson's, but I don't know if you get medication for Parkinson's. I'm not sure, but he was basically getting medication for whatever all of his ailments. So they weren't giving him like vamp blood.
No, and that's the thing. That's one inaccuracy is that normally they do infusions when you're end stage, and I don't think Daniel's end stage. So like, but I'm sure it doesn't matter. It's fiction. It's fine. But
Yeah.
like he. Like normally at Daniel's stage, you would just be taking medicine orally, but they wouldn't be doing that just yet. But es lo que es, you know?
And speaking of like, whatever, it's fiction. I love how they, so Daniel was like, wait, so he can fly like Superman? And Louis is like, no, not like Superman. Superman is fiction. And I'm like, it's all fiction.
This is all fake. This is fake. But that's the thing too, like the world itself still feels like a real world, and it feels like you're watching like a real family. I described it kind of like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Because I'm just like, I feel like I'm watching an episode of Maury or like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where I'm like, what is this crazy ass family gonna do next? And it feels like you're watching like reality, even though they are fictional blood-sucking demon monsters. You know,
Yeah.
and I think one of the highlights of the show is that it still feels very human and relatable, despite being about things that are undoubtedly fake.
But speaking of things being fake, how did you feel about I guess even though it was genuine, it still wasn't real, because we talked about last week. We're like, I don't know how this relationship is going to recover after last week's episode.
Yeah.
And even though it didn't recover, it kind of did in this episode. Like, how did you feel about Lestat coming back to Louis to give his like apology, to win his heart back?
I don't think Lestat actually knows how to apologize. Like that's the thing. It's like I don't think he actually knows what an apology is. Also, I don't think an apology is enough. I don't know what it would ever be enough to fix or get past or undo what he did. And that's the thing that kind of like, and I think that was very intentional because it kind of shattered the whole, like it reminded you very quickly that this is horror. And it's like, this is not the flowery romance. Don't be rooting for them, go to therapy. Like it really just like kind of shattered that bubble. And I think like one of the things that he is only good at doing is love bombing and giving gifts and giving the facade that he knows what somebody needs and wants, but not actually knowing what they need and want, because he will go get you a book or write you a song or perform something for you or do something that will make him look better. But at the end of the day, he will still go and have relations with some other bitch, even though you asked multiple times for him to stop.
Yeah.
And he is, I believe, too selfish to be able to A, actually apologize, and B, be able to actually get better and do his part and do his end. Because relationships take work from both sides. And Lestat is very much, I want my cake and I want to eat it. Like, have my cake and eat it too, essentially. And I don't think he knows how to properly, like, be a decent fucking person, essentially. Like, he's...
Agreed.
Something in him is fundamentally fucking broken.
And with that said, like, we do talk about something being fundamentally broken. We do learn a little bit more about Lestat's backstory and what caused some of the brokenness behind his character. And obviously, you know, this is stuff that we learn in the Vampire Lestat, but we learn his maker, Magnus, not to be confused with Magnus Bane from Mortal Instruments, but but yeah, they talked about his maker tortured him and got people that looked exactly like him. But instead of killing Lestat, for whatever reason, he changed Lestat, gave him a pile of money, stepped into the sun, and he had to basically learn everything by himself. And that's why he has abandonment issues. This is like Lestat's technically his first real time. Well, not his first time, because he kind of opened up to Louis at the opera where he said, I have a fear of abandonment issues. But other than that, I would say this is his first real time
like
kind of opening up to a certain extent. But it's only because he felt like he had to do it. Not because he actually wanted to do it, but he felt like he had to do it to get Claudia and Louis back.
Also him like trauma dumping his religious trauma at Louis' family's dinner table. Like that was another thing.
Oh yeah, that too. That about the religion, yeah.
Like he trauma dumped as to why he's a godless man. And so like and I always say this thing where it's like explanation but not excuse. And that's with anybody, where it's like it explains his behavior but it doesn't excuse his behavior. Like, you know why he is the way he is and how he is the way he is, but at the same time, like, just kind of like how people's triggers are their own responsibility. Mm-hmm. And the world cannot bend to a single person. He has this expectation that people will have to bend to him, but he fails to bend to other people. Even if he says anything,
unless
it's not for Louis though. It's not for.
I was gonna say unless he's bending in the bedroom. That's but that's a whole nother. But yeah, but other than that, yes, you are correct.
Like he and even if he says like anything for you, Louis, it's like it's not for Louis because you took Louis for yourself, so that negates anything that Louis wants. Period. Like,
yeah. Hey, it's Lily TV said he had 200 years to get over it.
Like he had 200 years to think. I mean, I know therapy wasn't popping back then.
Yeah, no, there was no therapy back then. So, and then he was alone. Like, we don't know. Oh, wait a minute. I just had the milestone. It happened. Guys, we hit over 100 people are in the stream right now. Oh, this is the most I've ever had on a live. So do me a favor. Hit the like button. The chat is flying tonight. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping up. I might have to put it on slow mode because I'm like, I can't keep up with the comments. I want to. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this interview with the Vampire live stream. Again, hit the like button. Follow Amanda. Link for her all of her social medias are in the description box below. But yeah, leave a comment if you want to leave a super chat. That'd be greatly appreciated to support the channel. But yeah, Amanda, what were you just saying? Sorry about that, but like that got me excited. Now we're at 101. So like let's go. Yeah.
It's like follow him or I will tell your mom.
Yeah, if you don't follow me, it's homophobic. If you don't follow Amanda, it's homophobic.
If you don't follow him, it's homophobic, anti-black, just every kind of
anti-left-handed because I'm left-handed.
Anti-glasses, everything.
Anti-bald, yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, and I made a video and I haven't published it yet about how like a Lestat has like, he never really gives people a choice. It's more of the illusion of choice, where it's like he'll basically just manipulate you into doing what he wants, but make it look like it was your idea. Like, and that's basically how their whole dynamic began. Like, he found this very vulnerable person in both society and his home life, and found this person that like basically had to do what he could to just provide for himself, his family, and survive. Promised him the world during the worst possible mental, physical, and emotional time in his life. And if you really look at that whole scenario, it's like, did Louis ever have a choice? Like, ever in the whole dynamic? Even if he tells Daniel, I got there on my own free will. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Because you, at every given moment, it's like you had two choices. You could either say yes or say no and risk what happened in episode 5.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, even going back to the first episode, it it was the illusion of choice where Lestat is like, you're beautiful, the world, the world doesn't see your beauty, I can give you power to do whatever you want. But it's like, was it really like, and he was like, all I want you to say is like, say yes or whatever. But it's like, was it really a choice?
But
Louis, like you mentioned, Louis was drunk. He's got body, like the body of the priest, and all this murder and mayhem right in front of him. Like he was rejected by his family and businesses. Like, so it's like, it wasn't really a choice.
it's like he picked a man who had nothing left. Like, that's the thing.
His brother just unalived himself, which I'm actually glad they, remember the whole conversation where people were like, do you think Lestat actually, had something to do with Paul's death? I'm glad that the writers were smart enough that because obviously this stuff was written way before the show actually came out. So the writers had enough wherewithal to think, I think the audience is going to have this as a question. They're going to wonder if Lestat, so let us address this now.
And I'm glad Louis also had the thought, because that's one thing that kind of shocked me, because I'm like, as a viewer, I had the thought, but I'm glad that they had Louis also consider the possibility, because it shows that Louis does have more than 4 brain cells, first of all. And second of all, like, it also it reiterates the fact that, like, no matter what, there's always this doubt surrounding their relationship. And there's always this air of, is this person who they actually say they are? Am I with the person that, like, is the person in front of me actually the person in front of me? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad he had that. And he's been sitting on that feeling for like over 20 years. Like, that's
and it's crazy. It's crazy that he's in the back of his mind, he's always thought Lestat has killed his brother. But and it goes back to like, are you sure it's not Stockholm syndrome, bro? Because like, if you had this thought the whole time, why are you with this man? Like,
because again, he went after Lestat went after someone. Like Jacob Anderson, trigger warning, guys, in the companion podcast for the show on Audible, he confirmed that had Lestat not shown up, Louis was going to discontinue his own subscription to Breathing. Like, after he confessed his plan was to, like, check out. So he essentially, like, Lestat, and at that point too, like, Lestat could still read his mind. He could still hear him, and he could still see into him because he hadn't turned him yet. I fully think that Lestat knew that Louis planned on checking out. And also, like, that's the, and it's also really fucking sick, because the song that he writes for Louis, he's repeating "Come to Me," and what did he repeat on the night that he turned him? Come to me. And Louis, again, trying to resist both times, trying to resist him, trying to get away from him, trying to move past him and get him out of his head, get him out of his life, and Lestat won't let him. It's not a choice. He literally won't let him. And like, when Louis finally confronts him after receiving the record and he says, "I hate you," that's the only form of endearment that he's ever told Lestat. Not endearment, quote unquote, but he's never said "I love you," but he was very open to say "I hate you." And I noticed that immediately, where I'm just like, he's never said "I love you," but he has said "I hate you." And people always say that love and hate are like, it's
a thin line between love and hate.
There's a thin line.
Not to be confused with the movie with Martin.
Yeah, and that's the thing, where it's like, there is a thin line between love and hate. They're the two sides of the same coin. And I think it's very telling within the script and the story that Louis has never said "I love you," but he has said "I hate you." And he even said in the beginning, he's just like, I wanted to kill the man, I wanted to be the man. And I don't, now that I'm watching more and more, like, and I remember, I think you asked me once, where like, if I thought that Louis and Lestat were in love, or if I thought that Lestat loved Louis and vice versa, or if Louis loved Lestat. And the more I watch, the more I believe that it's more so a trauma bond than it is genuine love. Because
but sometimes trauma bonds can evolve
into love, They can, but has it though?
No, it hasn't. Definitely not yet. But really quick, let me address. Thank you, Deja Green, for the $9.99 super chat. The doctor was not trying to have his spot blown up. Daniel was petty for saying his name on the recording loud and clear. I had to chuckle. That is true. The doc, and it's funny because the doc, he was like, "This is Dr. Fareed something," and the doctor was like, "That is not my voice." I'm like, "You should have said, if you're trying to cover your tracks, you should have said that's not his voice. That's not how he sounds." But he said, "That's not my voice." It's not, I was like, but yeah, the doctor, he's like, "I'm working with a vampire. I know this man could kill me, and he's paying me very well. I'm not fucking with my bag. I'm not fucking with my life. Leave me out of." But you know, Daniel, he slapped the vampire in the last episode. Daniel gives no fuck, and he's high on the medication. So like,
Daniel, like.
But I love that about Daniel, though.
If Daniel has anything, he has the audacity, and I love it. He's so funny. Like, he calls out people and their bullshit with a quickness. I love it. And yeah, like
I love that about Daniel, and I love, like I said before, like we're getting more of the character of Daniel Malloy than we've gotten in like the original books. Like once you start the interview, for the most part, Daniel becomes essentially
because
a non-character.
He's not named. Like in the first book, he's only called the boy.
Yeah, he's called the boy.
Not even named, and he's not named until later books. And so I love that we get to see not only, and I'm so glad we also, because I was dying to see 1970s.
Yeah, even the flashback, like I wasn't expecting to get that.
I was so happy. I was like, yes, we got to see the 70s. Like I was so happy because I was dying to see their dynamic before this. And I'm so glad we got a glimpse of it because I hope we see a little bit more because that would be great.
Same. And with that said, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but I hate to be the bearer of bad news for everybody. But I forgot to mention this at the opening, but this is the penultimate episode that we're in. Next week is the season finale.
Don't tell you.
So I thought there were 8 episodes for the season, but no, I checked. Next week is the last episode of season 1, which I'm just like, I don't know what. So next week is definitely going to be a therapy session when we go live, because like that's it. There's no more interview with the vamp. How am I going to live for like? Because season 2 is probably not going to come for like another year. What am I going to do with myself?
What am I supposed to do every Sunday? Sleep?
Yes, I need gay vampires. Like,
am I supposed to sleep? Like what? I don't. I'm just gonna rewatch the season.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. Or I mean, I haven't listened to the podcast.
The podcast is really good. I think you would like it.
So I guess that's something I can do. But like, speaking of which, AMC, if you're watching, if you're checking us out, Amanda and I, put us on. Let us get a podcast. Let us get an episode. Put us on. Put us on.
What I gotta give? What I gotta give?
Yeah, what I gotta do? What I gotta do? Who's? Never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
No.
But you know who's?
No.
How I gotta get?
I didn't see that.
But speaking of, now that we know what we know, and you mentioned this in our chat, like if Rasheed is a vampire or even some type of immortal, because we know like vampires, part of the way they have sex is through just drinking each other's blood and blood exchanges and things like that. So say what you said to me in the chat.
Oh my God. Okay. Because people were saying it's like, oh, like about how is Rasheed a vampire because Louis was drinking from him, and I'm like, well, vampires can and do drink from each other. Like Lestat drank from Louis at episode 5 before he did the horrible friggin' thing, and during the horrible friggin' thing. And typically the way that works, at least for Anne Rice vampires, is that feeding on each other is typically a power transfer type thing. Like it is kind of like a sharing thing where if you feed from say like an older vampire or a vampire with a specific like kind of gift, like you can potentially absorb that gift, or it is an intimacy thing. So it's essentially it's an intimate thing. So when I saw the end of episode 6, and I just remembered the beginning of episode 5, and I'm like, why the hell were Daniel and Rasheed just in front of
Yeah,
Daniel.
Louis and Rasheed.
Sorry, Louis and Rasheed. Why were Louis and Rasheed just in front of Daniel doing
Yeah, and Antonio said so they were really fucking in front of Daniel. So yeah, that's why I brought that up. So basically, now that we know about Rasheed, basically they were fucking in front of Daniel.
like, I saw that and I'm like, did they just excuse me? Like, is this professional? Like, yeah. So I immediately had that thought where I'm like, Louis and Rasheed really just in front of the salad.
Yeah, right in front of my salad.
Right in front of the salad. I was like, okay.
But actually, now that I think about it, now because Pet Boy said that Rasheed is a vampire, that ending took me by surprise, probably Armand. But the more I think about it, I'm like, I think Rasheed is just immortal. I don't think he's a vampire. Because remember, also, now that we're talking about this, really low, right in front of my salad. Like, if you know, you know. But going back to it, like, remember when they were doing it right, and literally Daniel was eating salad, I think. But if you go back to it, remember Daniel, because he was kind of turned on by it, because he was wondering what did Rasheed taste like.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if Rasheed is a vampire, because he said he tastes like honey and what was it? Honey and what? Pineapple. If you ingest like human food as a vampire, does that affect your blood?
I ask the production team. I'll probably production team, if you are watching this, hit me up. We have questions. Like, we have questions.
So then that makes me wonder, maybe he's not a vampire, he's just immortal. Because I'm like, yeah, I don't think that would affect his blood.
And he said and here's the thing, unless Louis is gaslighting the fuck out of Daniel, like, which is entirely possible, because why not? Unless Louis is gaslighting Daniel, he did say that Rasheed like fluctuates in weight and he like works out essentially. But
yeah, he said that too. Yeah.
But why would he? Unless it's like a one elaborate ass lie.
And it makes me wonder, to what end, though?
To what end? Like, yeah, like, unless it's like a really elaborate lie, in which case, why are you lying? Because you're already interviewing a vampire. You're already in Dubai. You're already with all these random ass people coming in and out of the house, getting fed on. Like, what's one more vampire? You know?
And he's already revealed that, like, there's a vampire apocalypse coming. That's why he's willing to do the interview. So it's not like Daniel doesn't know there are other vampires. Like, and we're talking about Lestat. We're talking about Claudia.
So
we're talking about, he knows about Bruce. Or wait, no, he doesn't know about. Wait, he does know about Bruce. He just doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, and so what's one more vampire? So what is the reasoning for, if Rasheed is a vampire and not just some immortal dude? Like, what is the point of hiding Rasheed? Like, Rasheed's true nature.
And then, yeah, Mama Bear Angela, I also don't necessarily believe that that Rasheed is Armand, because also I have so many questions. Like, I'm so confused. Because also you got to remember the moment where Daniel caught Rasheed praying.
Yeah.
And he didn't recognize the language, yada, 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 which are hints that something maybe, the hints that Rasheed is maybe older, because the language that he didn't know what it was. But then remember, Rasheed was saying, I worship a god. So was that more gaslighting? Like, was that all more?
That's the thing. Like, they're all so,
because Armand is way older than Lestat. And then like Mama Bear said, Armand is no servant. But then I don't think, maybe he's not really a servant. It's just a game. I don't know. I have questions, guys. This is why we're talking through this. Maybe I don't know what the hell is going on.
To show, but why is he lying to? Like, why would he lie to Daniel? I mean, I know that Louis is an unreliable narrator. What is the point of not disclosing that Rasheed is a vampire? And I hope they answer it in like episode 7, because I'm confused. And I would like the answer, please. Because what really is the point of telling somebody who already knows vampires exist to the extent that he has a scar from one? That's the thing. He has a scar. It's not going to go away. So what is the point? Unless you know what? I do have a theory.
All right, well, Buffy reference. I've got a theory.
What if he is not disclosing Rasheed as part of the interview? Because if you guys know, like, this is going to be, again, this is a spoiler talk. If you're not, like, a fan of the books or know what happens in the books, like, maybe this is a spoiler for you, but Lestat, like, they do plan on killing, like, the way this whole thing plays out is different in the books, but at this point, remember Louis tells Daniel at the end, like, we were going to kill Lestat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, Lestat's not dead. Like, he does not die. And so what if he's not disclosing that he's, because I think Rasheed and Louis are a thing. Like,
I mean, yeah, the missing just said it's his sex god. He didn't say what kind of god. And yeah, I said this before. Daniel and Louis, I mean not Daniel, Rasheed and Louis are
they're definitely a thing. I
especially after this episode. There's no way you could be with a man for almost 50 plus years.
There's no way.
The way he was drinking from him, like, there's no way. I refuse to believe it. Even if they tell me it wasn't true, I'm like, y'all did it at least once. Yeah. I refuse to believe it. And because obviously, like, Louis has his needs. He's like, he gave me face and I went home. Like,
I do think they have a relationship. What if he's not disclosing that? Because in this universe, the first interview was never published. Mm-hmm. But in the books, the interview was published and Lestat read them, and that's why he made his own account, because he was just like, this bitch is lying. Like, that's what, like, happened. So what if he's excluding Rasheed from the narrative because he knows that Lestat's probably going to read it?
Probably, because there is a theory that I've seen on the internet, that because people are wondering where is Lestat in present day. And there's a theory that Louis and Lestat are back together right now as Louis telling the story. And that's why when there's the discrepancies between the two interviews, is like, wait a minute, back in 1970s, you were basically calling Lestat, saying he ain't shit. But now you're like, oh, he was my soulmate. I'm not manipulated. I didn't have Stockholm syndrome. I forgive it. Like, he
even said it. He was like, he's like, are we the sum of all of our bad choices?
Yeah. I was like, yeah. Even in this episode where he's like, he only hit me once, sir. Like, and he's like, what are you talking? And Louis still he's defending him. So there's the theory that they're back together now. And that's why he
threw you out of the sky.
Yeah, that's why he's so defensive. And that's why he's going back and looking at their relationship with more fondness than when they broke, because in the 1970s they were broken up and now they're back together. So he's like, oh, well, maybe he wasn't that bad. So that's the theory going on the internet. And it would make sense.
But what? Oh, and it kind of, listen, this whole episode gave me the ick, because, like, and the thing too, like, we see Lestat when he gets back to the house, like, he's bloody and he has, like, cuts on him and bruises on him. Also, did Louis stab him? like I have a question. Did you see what I saw?
Wait.
When he went to Antoinette, like, when he literally swam the Mississippi to go freaking confront his ex-husband and his side piece. And when basically they told Antoinette to go outside,
and they were hate fucking. I didn't see him stab him. I don't.
Did he punch him, or did he? Because I heard a.
Yeah, I think he took a swipe at him. Like, they were fighting. Like, they were fighting. Like, it reminded me of season 6 of Buffy, where Spike and Buffy were having sex. I don't know if you're a Buffy fan, but they were like destroying the walls, punching each other. Like, the building was crumbling down while they were having sex with each other. And that's what that reminded me of. They were like, so I think it might have been his nails.
Like, I heard the sound, and
I don't think he stabbed, because he didn't have anything in his hand.
No,
like,
he has his nails.
Huh?
He has his nails.
Yeah, that's why I said I think it was his nails.
I'm like, did he stab? I saw that, like, and then he just did this type of number, but I didn't see a knife or anything. I'm like, did he?
Because it's like the same way he cut off the alderman's ear with, like, his hand. Like, yeah.
He stabbed. Like, and he came, and then the next scene we see him with the cuts and the bruises on his face, because, like, essentially Louis just beat the shit out of him, not nearly to the, like, point that Lestat fucking did, but he did get a couple of swipes in.
But really quick, we're international here. We got people from Brazil over here. We got Chanzi, who left a 179 euro. Thank you so much for the super stick, or I guess super chat. But yeah, like they're both hold on, I just saw that comment too. Yeah, from Fabulous One. They both toxic. Like I don't understand this relationship, but at the same time, though, I love it. I love this relationship.
Deserve to get stabbed. I do.
Oh no, he definitely did. But
saying,
like they're both hella toxic in this.
Like when my friend asked me, they're like, "What happens in this episode?" I'm like, "I'm gonna be honest, I would have done worse." It's like Louis is better than me. I would have done worse. Like,
but yeah, it was payback because he's like, you done whooped my ass. Now I'm gonna whoop your ass. You gonna let me? But you know, Lestat was turned on by it. Like,
where it's like, did you just stab me? What's your problem? You know that audio on TikTok? I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it was the toxic love I wanted to see. I do, because like I said, I'm here for this relationship, even though they totally should not be together.
Or
but
for each other, man.
Did everyone see Jacob Anderson put his whole tongue down Sam Reed's throat? I'm gonna have to go back and watch it, because you know I'm here for all of that. But like, no, I didn't see it. But I like when the two of them were like hate fuck. I was like, give me my, like when they cut to Antoinette, I'm like, first of all, and I know we're jumping around a lot, but like we're gonna get through the whole episode. But like,
couldn't laugh.
How you gonna get kicked out of your own house? Like,
but imagine you're with your like affair partner, right? His ex-husband walks in the door, kicks you out of your own house, beats the hell out of your lover, stabs him. They hate fucking in your house, and you are outside of your own house smoking a cigarette and crying
and listening to them,
listening to the whole thing. Like, damn. Like, I'm not a fan of Antoinette, but damn, I would have been crying too.
But really quick, Antonio Da Silva said that I'm trying to keep up with the chat. It's like flying. But fun fact about the Doctor. In the books, he's the doctor that finds a way for vampires to be able to have sex again, because originally they didn't feel the need to. Which is something, well, yeah, that's something that's very, because yeah, in Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, vampires can't really have, like, they can't get it up.
I think they can, they just don't care to. Like, it's not, again, like the intimacy is not in human contact or connection, it's through feeding and emotional connection, like mind reading and shit.
So
like,
I guess the Doctor gives them their sex libido back?
Maybe they just gives them the spicy want back. But speaking of Antoinette, what do you think about that whole situation?
I hate that. Why is she still alive? Like, and then like the moment, and like I said, I love Claudia in this episode, where Claudia is like, no, motherfucker, if you coming back, we need to set ground rules. Mm-hmm. Like, no lying this time, and not just lying by saying, oh, I told you this and it's actually not true. It's like no lies through omission. If you can fly, you tell us that you can fly. Like, what was the other rules?
Kill Antoinette.
Yeah, kill Antoinette.
I thought that was a rule in itself. Just kill Antoinette.
Yeah, kill Antoinette. But I was like, Antoinette don't deserve to die. Like, just let her go. Like, don't kill her. But I was like, all right, they're vampires, whatever.
Because again, they're not human, and like Louis and Claudia were probably just like, you keep going back to this bitch, and the only way.
And it's funny because like I totally expect that from Claudia. Claudia is a serial. Like, Claudia is just as bad. Like, as much as she tries to put herself on a pedestal in terms of like viciousness, she's Lestat. 100%.
Like that.
So I wasn't surprised that Claudia was like, no, kill the bitch. But I was surprised that Louis is like, no, yeah, I know, I completely agree.
That's true in the books and the movie as well, where like she favored Louis, but personality-wise, like she was very much like Lestat, and that's why they bumped heads so much. And so, like, that's literally why. And I love how they portray that dynamic with a chess game. Like, that was so freaking good. Those scenes
I love that.
So freaking good. But like, I believe the fact that Louis got to that point too, where it's just like, because multiple times he's like, am I not enough? And the fact that there was always this double standard where like, if Louis did whatever he wanted, Lestat was like, I heard your heart's dancing. Bitch, you just told Antoinette you loved her. I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it, Lestat. I'm done. You're done. And so, like, I think Louis was also just kind of sick of it at that point and was just like, I will not be grieving when she stops breathing. I'm sorry. Like,
And Louis, it's so sad. Like Louis knows, like he had the Paul thing in the back of his mind. He's hearing all this stuff with Antoinette. He knows she's sleeping. He's sleeping with Antoinette, and he's still like
He still stays, and it's
doesn't
like
even say anything.
he
Like
just, and that's Jacob Anderson needs an Emmy like
he does.
yesterday.
I mean,
Because
they both do. Like
both
Sam Reed, like the opening in episode 1, that monologue. Like,
that
and then like I said, Claudia after this episode, like. Because before, not that I dislike Claudia, but I said before, I was like, man, I feel like it's kind of too early to introduce Claudia. After this episode, I'm like, no, give me all the Claudias.
Really solidified her place in the dynamic, and I really, really, really love that. Bailey all into it, and she did amazing. But
she was not with the shits in this episode.
And I one of the things I really loved about this episode in particular is that Jacob Anderson's acting, where like he just kind of sat there hearing them bicker or hearing Lestat go off the rails or hearing all this stuff, and you could just see the festering resentment, like without him saying anything or doing anything. He was just sitting there reading a book, and you could see him progressively get more and more done with all this shit.
And that's one of the hardest things as an actor to like, because it's one thing to have the lines and the dialogue and like react from it, but it's a harder thing to like do it silently or do it with no words. Again, Buffy reference, but a lot of the cast from the show, because there's an episode called Hush in season 4 where it's all silent. Like the premise of the episode was demons took everybody's voice, so they couldn't speak. So you had to get all the emotion across without speaking. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, all of the cast said that was the hardest episode to do because you had to basically get everything across. So like, yeah, as an actor, having everything come across in your face, and then especially in your eyes, that's
with wild contacts too. Like even
with contacts and fangs and all that.
I could literally see him progressively being like, I'm gonna kill this bitch. Like I could see it happening in real time, and I was like, Sam, he needs an Emmy. Like he needs.
Even the moment where they were on the bench and Lestat going to go fuck Antoinette, not knowing that they know, he goes to Louis, which I still love. Again, I love these two, but still, it's like they don't need to be together. But like when Lestat turns to Louis and he's like, he whispers like, "I love you," and Louis gives like a sad smile.
Yeah, and he doesn't say it back.
Yeah, he doesn't. Not even just does he not say it back, but you could see like read the pain and emotion in his face, knowing where this man's about to go. Because like, even though I don't think Louis loves Lestat, I still think there's something there that he's obviously jealous. He obviously has like some type of emotional, and he talked about like the vampire bond. It's not something you can understand, and that's why he was so willing to take. Even though this man like destroyed a house, threw him from hundreds of feet in the air. Granted, he was above the clouds. He was at least like 10,000 feet up in the air.
Yeah, he dropped him out of the whole ass sky. Like
yeah, so like even though it's like from us, we're like, there's no way you can recover from that. But he explains like a vampire bond is not something I can explain because it's not human. So that's, and part of me is like, is that a cop out? But then at the same time, I'm like, no, not necessarily. Like there's a whole like almost kind of like soul exchange. Like, and the vampire drinks your blood, you drink their blood, you die. Like, so it is something that from a human standpoint, it's like,
Lestat, like Louis, like Daniel said, it's like your lover, your murderer, your maker. Like he is in a way everything to Louis, everything. Like, and again too, like with the whole love and hate being a fine line and being the two sides of the same coin, like that is like an equally as strong feeling. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I can't live with you and I can't live without you, and it's again toxic and horrible and terrible, and they're horrible for each other, and Lestat to Louis especially, but Louis is again explaining it through his eyes, and through his eyes, like it's like again just hearing the call constantly, and it quite literally, because Lestat never stopped calling, like ever mentally. When he couldn't do it mentally, he literally did it with the phone. When the phone wasn't working, he came in person. Like it's like a fucking boomerang. He just doesn't go away. And so it's literally just, again, like, you can't live with them, you can't live without them. He's just gonna keep coming back, and it's like a wound that won't heal. And it's horrifying to watch. Like, again, like, I think episode 5 really solidified the horror of this show, because episode 6 started and I told you I was misty-eyed for the first like 30 minutes. I was like on the verge of tears because I felt so gross. Like, watching this whole thing, I felt like if I was a therapist, I would be like, y'all need to find somebody else. I don't know how to fix this. Like, I don't know how to, I can't, this can't. It can't. It's broken. It was broken from the beginning.
But really quick, because a friend of mine in the chat, Movie Files, follow Elliot if you're not, but he brought up a good point. I got to put out a challenge to everybody out there. He said, I have a question. We have now it's at 136 people in the live stream right now. Let's go. 136 people watching this amazing discussion, and now it's at 75 and only 75 likes. Show some love to Mike and Amanda by giving this fire breakdown a thumbs up. Yes, guys, 136. Actually, now it's 138 people in the live chat right now. Get these likes up, right? 75 likes right now. Let's get it. If it's 139, now it's 139 people in the live stream. We should be at 139 likes. So do me that favor. It helps with the algorithm. It helps with the YouTube. And it tells us that you're enjoying the stream. But also with that, Gilsert 8, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I have a theory that Lestat wrote the song Moon River reminiscent about Louis swimming the Mississippi for some hate loving. I mean, probably, yeah. Why else would, and Lestat, and that's also something I really enjoyed. Like, he was like, Lestat wrote all the, he wrote the song, he played all the instruments, but then you had your fucking
okay, this
ex-lover singing on the song, and it's like,
song,
you really know how to fuck something up.
The song is literally, and I wanted to talk about this too, it is literally a perfect physical embodiment of how Lestat operates. Because again, he does this thing that he think you might want. That at first it seems sweet and affectionate and like something someone might want, and then he does something within the thing to piss you off. And funnily enough, when does he first meet Louis? When he's angry and pulling a knife on his brother. So it's like he purposefully does this stuff to get Louis riled up the way that he was when he first met him. And again, it's not necessarily for Louis, it's for
him. Yeah.
It's not, the song wasn't for Louis. The song was to provoke Louis to get pissed off enough to come get you. And that it's gross. Like, it's literally gross, because he knew it would get a rise out of him, and he knew basically the intended outcome of it. Because why the hell would you write this song reiterating the thing that you told him the night you turned him, but then use your side bitch to sing it? What?
You're so toxic. So toxic.
Remind him of the worst simultaneous, like the worst day of his life. That your strategy to get your man back was to remind him of the worst day of his life.
Yeah.
You're horrible. You're horrible.
And again, guys, going back to it, now we had 141 people in the live stream. Let's get these likes up. Get these likes up. We're at 94 likes right now. Come on, guys. Let's get it to 100, at least 100. But 140, everybody in the live chat, hit the like button. Now we're at 144. We're still going up. See what the like button does? It tells YouTube that this is the place to be. So more people are jumping in the live stream. So let's get those likes up. We're at 94 right now. So hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Well, also, Chan Z left another 179 euro super. She said, when Louis said, "Does it look like I care?" I screamed.
Kicked her out of her own house.
Out of the girl. I was like, at this point, I'm like, Antoinette, you need to just, because like clearly Lestat don't really want, but it's like, but does he even really want Louis? I mean, I guess technically he does, but like
okay, so in the books, Antoinette is a man named Antoine, and essentially a similar thing happens in which like Louis and Lestat's relationship is like not doing great. Although in the first interview, like it's never doing great. Like they're never happy. And it's just like it's basically like the 1973 tapes. Like the first interview is the books, essentially. And in the books, they're just not happy forever. And so like he essentially does the same thing he's doing with Antoinette, where he's just like, this is a shit ass situation. I'm bored. And he just goes and finds somebody else to have an affair with. And like he does end up turning Antoine. I forgot exactly what the hell happens to Antoine. I think Antoine dies. Like I think Antoine discontinues his subscription fairly quickly, but he does turn Antoine, like he turns Antoinette. And yeah, what do you think about that?
You think Antoinette's a vampire?
Antoinette is a vampire. He turned her.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wait, when did that happen? I know
he turned her.
Cause wait, when did that? Cause remember, cause she lost her finger, but it didn't grow back.
No, they don't grow the thing.
Cause they heal. And then we saw the bite. We saw the bite marks in her neck. So he's feeding off. Granted, obviously we know they did mention that they feed off vampires, but like, I think she's just still his human side piece. But I don't, because I feel like her finger would have grown back.
Would it have grown? It would have grown back, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I don't think he turned her. But with that said, like,
how the hell is she still the same?
She do look mad young though. Maybe it's because somebody mentioned it way earlier in the chat, but like, and I can't, because again the chat's flying. But somebody mentioned that maybe because like if Lestat is feeding her his blood, maybe that's what keeps her young.
But here's the, but if they exchange blood though, then she would turn. What's happening, because Lestat can heal. He can heal people. When you heal, your cells regenerate. Maybe he's been continuously healing her so she doesn't age.
Probably.
Like maybe she's still.
And yeah, like Jojo, her eyes are normal.
Yeah, her eyes are normal, and her damn, he really just cut off her fucking finger, and she just let him do
it. And that's what I'm about to get to now. And I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot. But I'm like,
he really just cut off her finger.
I'm like, how good is Lestat's dick that he got both Antoinette and Louis dickmatized to the point that they keep coming back to this toxic, like the fact, not even just the fact that they keep coming back to him, but this woman is willing to chop off her own finger to sleep with this man, to be with this man, to stay with this man. And not only chop off her own finger, she's willing to isolate herself from her friends, her family, her life. She gave up her career for this man. Like, how good is that dick? And where can I find some?
Like, what is this? What the fuck? Like, I really thought about it. I'm like, you really let him cut off your finger to bring to his girl, you down bad.
That's the thing. It's not even just him. It's both of them. Louis, like clearly, because we saw them sleeping together. They're cuddling in each other in the coffin. They're back together. Even though he has in his mind that, oh, I'm gonna kill Lestat, he still took him back. Like, and he didn't have to. Claudia was like, no, fuck him. Like, don't, like, you can, in every moment, just rolling her eyes or everything. She's like, all right, like, it's your decision. Like, and I support your decision, but like, fuck him. Like,
did you see the preview?
I saw the preview. I saw the preview for next week's episode. So now we remember we were wondering like the moment where they're in the white, and I was like, I didn't know what you're talking about. That's gonna be next week.
And he said he's like I wanted to kill him and I wanted him all to myself. Again, I do not believe this is the love that you are looking for. Like I think it is just
yeah, Antoinette is next level, and then Fabulous Five. Antoinette is a whole different level of nuts. That's why it's like I'm like, because
she waited outside for them to finish.
She waited outside and still like,
damn, like this.
And that's the thing. Like, yeah, he could have taken that finger off Not even just her corpse. He probably could have taken that finger from any dead body. Because, like, how would Claudia know that's actually hers?
Exactly.
And honestly, to be perfectly honest, when he gave her that finger, it looked like somebody black. I thought.
No, it was burnt.
Oh, it was burnt. Okay, because I was like, did he just? I was like, Antoinette's not black. That's not her. But even when he handed her the finger, I was like, she's not dead. I don't feel like she's dead. And then they cut to that scene. I was like, this lying motherfucker.
I hate.
I'm like, the audacity. Talking about Daniel having audacity, the audacity of
Do you
Lestat.
think Lestat loves Antoinette?
Huh?
Do you think Lestat loves Antoinette?
I would have said no before this. And I don't think he loves her, but I do think he's very fond of her. Because why not? Again, obviously, him and Louis aren't having sex like they should, yada, yada, yada. He still has, and then on top of that, he's still attracted to women. He's still, like he said, I like to dabble. I don't discriminate. But he could be getting that from any woman.
And he's just continuing.
He wants her specifically.
Yeah.
After 20, 30 plus years.
That's the thing, too. Like, how the fuck is Antoinette not aging?
That's what we talked about. Maybe he's giving her.
He has to be healing her.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only explanation, because, like, she literally has not aged since 1917, and it's the 1930s. It's been 20 years. She should be well into her 50s or 60s. Like, yeah. So that, and I was to say, I'm like, oh, maybe Lestat likes MILFs, and then
Horror Geek 9 said, "What? She's just someone he could spill his guts to, basically."
But that's the thing, too. Isn't that also hypocritical? Because he took away every single one of Louis' confidants. Like, except for Paul. Because Paul discontinued his own subscription. But, like, the father, Lily, he took away Louis' other means of communication and airing out his feelings. And then he proceeds to have a long-term side piece that he airs his grievances to, who knows he's a vampire too. So
yeah, as soon as we saw those bite marks, it's like, yeah, no, now she knows. So like, you're telling her yeah.
But you don't allow Louis or Claudia the same. He's
like, even when Louis had sex with the old flame, Lestat was hella jealous. He was upset.
He was upset, and then he decided, he was like, oh, like, I heard your heart's dancing, I don't have feelings. And it's just like, bullshit. Like, you have feelings for Antoinette, and you have the audacity to get mad at him for like one hookup. And then he doesn't hook up with anybody else. He holds his end, and Lestat doesn't. And he lies about it.
But that's true to this Lestat's nature. He wants Louis to himself, but not the other way around.
Yeah, and it's horrible. Like,
Chansey said Antoinette is the original Twilight groupie.
Antoinette walked so that Bella could sprint. Like, just whizzes past every red flag. But like, that's the thing. Like, that when you really look at it, where it's like the massive hypocrisy, where it's like, oh, he gives me massive amounts of ick. I hope they kill him. I know he's not gonna die, but I hope they kill him. Like,
Fabulous says she looked older to me, but just not aging like a normal human. I don't know, she looked kind of the same.
Looked the same to me.
Yeah, she looked the same.
Except for when she was, eyeliner running down her face because her brows just
the only thing that's different, she was just missing a finger. And again, going back to like, it didn't look like it was healing. Like,
no.
So yeah, that's why I was like, I don't think she's a vampire.
And she did say, she's like, oh, who would hire, like, because he called herself a cripple. He's like, that's what Gloves.
And and why would she care about getting hired at another job or whatever if she's like
gonna grow back?
Not even just grow back, but yeah, why would she care about working again if she's like an immortal? Like, who cares about that? That's human. I don't need to work anymore. I got a man that's rich.
Well, kind of like how Louis still cared about running his businesses.
Yeah, but now he don't give a fuck about when the last time we saw him do that. Like, and speaking of that, like, they did reference, and I like that they referenced, because they've been in the same spot for decades. Now people are starting to notice.
They should have noticed a long time ago.
They should have, but people are now really starting to know. So they're starting to leave like little like salt, because you know if you know anything about like demon lore or whatever, like salt is supposed to repel spirits and demons. So they're leaving like salt in front of their house with like a doll, which Claudia, you know, I love Claudia. She picked it up. She was like, "Oh, cute, mine."
Same, but like yeah, like people are starting to notice that they are, like, and that's the thing too. Is like it's a wonder why they haven't moved at all.
Because it's a TV budget. they can't change locations.
Oh, it was COVID time too.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, from a behind the scenes standpoint, I get it. But from an in-world standpoint, yeah, I'm like they should have moved around ages ago. Especially with Claudia, like she's been in the body of a fort, like she hasn't aged. How do you explain that? And it's not like they're hiding her.
No, they're not. She's going out and about in town, and like, and even them too. It's been over 20 years. It's been almost 30 years. Like, they should be in their 60s physically, and they're not, and it's scary. Like, it's like, I know it don't crack, but damn, like, the Ole Regenerate can only do so much. Like, yeah. So they just really, like, even the town, not like, because what happens in the books, like because again, Louis was a plantation owner and he had slaves, and in the books, like the slaves noticed some weird shit pretty early on and burned the house down. Like,
and even in the movie where the one girl, she's like, "Mas, you don't go out in the day anymore. The people are starting to talk like they're wondering." So yeah, I feel like more people would notice. Especially because they haven't, and then also like the house being destroyed, yada yada. And I'm glad they had that. And Claudia being the G of this episode, where he was like, "We should fix it." When Lestat was like, "We should fix the house," she's like, "No,
we keep the damage.
We keep the damage to remind us of the damage." Like, Claudia, yeah.
I don't want her to die, but I would prefer the place. But that's the thing too, where it's like nobody noticed. That it looks like a bomb.
And that's the thing, JoJo. She said they didn't move because Louis can't leave his human life behind. They stay for Louis, which yes is true, but at the same time, though, we don't really see him living his human life anymore. Like,
he's not.
His sister is gone. His sister's probably dead at this point because it's been 20-something years. But his sister's not around anymore. His business has essentially kind of been shut down.
Like he's
so like what human life is he really living right now?
So sad. Like he's so sad. Like it's so sad to see like the progression of just like having nothing really to do except go back to this asshole. And it starts to make you look at the other episodes of the series and just kind of like you look at it through a different lens once you see the actual fallout and downfall. Because again, like in the beginning, like Louis tells Daniel, and by extension the audience, like, let the tale seduce you. And at first, like, you're basically just like entranced, just like Louis was, where you're like, maybe you're hoping somehow this would work out and they would work out and they would be happy and things wouldn't be terrible. And then it quickly reminds you it was terrible from the start and you were bamboozled. Just like Louis was. And I think that's the part that also kind of made me sick this episode, where I was just like, this is the first time where I am not smiling. Like episode
I thought episode 5 was the first time.
Like episode 5 and 6, sorry. Like episode
I was
5.
Like, you smiled at episode 5? Like,
no, my smile the fuck appeared in episode 5. And then definitely like there was not even a crack of a smile in episode 6. Like, it was just immediate dread and sadness, because in episode 5 you didn't know what was coming, you know? At least I didn't. And
I smiled in this episode mostly during like the present scenes. And speaking of like this moment right here, like where Jordan Parker 65 said, "I miss Louis offering Daniel the dark gift." When was that? In the beginning of this episode? Because remember they talked about in 1970s, Daniel said he wanted, and this also goes to the book and the movie, after the story was all said and done, the boy, Daniel, wanted Louis to make him a vampire. And that's kind of why Louis snapped on. Like, remember, if you remember from the first or second episode, I think it was, where they had that altercation where it seemed like Louis was going to kill Daniel. That was him snapping because Daniel asked to be made a vampire.
At what point did he, like? Because remember, Louis said he's like, it was at this point that you asked me to turn you, and was it the point that like Lestat brought Claudia back?
I
think that was
I think it was that part of the episode. I've only seen the episode once, so I don't remember.
Daniel, what the fuck? Like 20-year-old Daniel in 1973. Everyone here is tactless. He just told you that his abuser just came back with their sister.
But all he hears is like immortal, vampire, power. Turn me.
Start to escape, and your response is, yes, very sad. Anyway, can I please?
And he was also high,
like oh, it's like, oh, he brought her back. A radical. So did he know? He had to have known about Claudia.
He had to have.
He had to have known about Claudia.
I just don't think he knew the level of detail that he now knows.
Yeah, maybe Claudia was just...
also like, there's no way. Claudia is such an intrinsic part of the story. There's no way he could have left her out without.
So why did he kind of seem? Oh, maybe he was just saying it for their interview, like because he still.
And then also, I guess, remember, he was high. So like, how much does he remember? He doesn't remember Rasheed.
Yeah, he doesn't. And Rasheed was whole ass there. Like he was right next to Louis.
Yeah.
No way in this fucking series has, and everyone is a problem. But like, but yeah, like that. It's the fact that he said, like, because Louis said he's like, I would give it to you now. Like, I would give you the gift now. And he basically just assumes him and deems him as worthy. But that's the thing, is like, if he deems him as worthy as getting the quote unquote gift, which at this point it seems like a fucking curse, why would he not tell him about Rasheed? What's the point?
Because they're all toxic. Like,
why are you gaslighting this man?
Yeah, he's blaming Lestat for keeping secrets, but this current Louis is doing the same.
Here's the thing, I think over time, because this Louis is like what, like 150 years old?
Yeah.
Like in total, not just vampire years, but as
in total, yeah.
I think what happens with the vampires is that over time they just start to kind of, like, again, they're not human, and it comes to a point where you're so removed from humanity because other humans age, other humans die, other humans eat, sleep, poop, reproduce, like do like like the speech that freaking one did in Stranger Things. Like, that's what humans do, and they do nothing really that humans do, except, or like what Claudia said was like, oh, we laugh, we love, we watch movies. Like, yeah, but you're also that's not the end all be all of humanity. There are different components of having humanity, and I think after a while they just start to lose that humanity, and they start to lose the parts of them that connect them to humans, which is why he goes from being so kind of disgusted at the thought of like killing other human beings to casually feeding on somebody and having them drop at the door and not really even caring. Like, because Dominic literally just dropped and he was just like, somebody come get him. Like, the food is on the floor. Like, he's removed from it now.
But yeah, praises to Amanda really quick. Scone Summer. Amanda is so well spoken. Yes, she is. That's exactly why I decided to have her on the show for this episode, because I'm like, there would be nobody else I would want to talk about this show with.
Thank you.
But Amanda. But really quick, Vera Morris is also saying Daniel is making a lot of assumptions about Rasheed, though, which is true. I mean, but also you got to keep in mind he is a journalist, so that's kind of his point. Like, he has to do that. Like, he has to try to figure out the story, figure out the angle, try to figure out what Louis perhaps leaving out of the story. And that's why, like, that Daniel calls him out on his bullshit time. And I also like the banter, talk about not smiling this episode. Again, I smiled a lot in the present day stuff where Louis was kind of like, "Do you plan on slapping me again, Daniel?"
Or I did smile. I did lie. I did smile when we got the flashback to the 70s, and I heard
that too.
The word for word, like pulled from the novel lines, and I was like, I just read that. I was like, I geeked out a little bit. And I was like, ah.
I actually started listening to the audiobook. I'm still, even though there are no chapters, I would still be considered on chapter 1 because I'm listening to it and reading it at the same time.
Same.
As opposed to just listening, because I like to do it, but then sometimes I get distracted. What'd you say?
I only have the audiobook because I drive a lot, so I can't sit down and read.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to read and listen at the same time, just so I could stay up on reading and not just listening. But Solange knows, just to address this really quick, y'all, what the fuck is going on with modern Louis? Is he planning on going out to the sun at the end of the series? Yeah, they addressed that in episode 5, I believe, where Rasheed tells Daniel that, like, what do you think the whole purpose of this interview is? Louis is giving this interview as more or less his suicide note, because once this interview comes out, once the secrets of vampirism and all that stuff is revealed, you don't think other vampires are going to come after Louis and storm the place and basically unalive him? And Louis knows that, but he doesn't care. He's still telling this story. So yeah, maybe not literally step into the sun, as you put it, but Louis is doing this as a way to basically end his subscription to life.
Yeah. And like, it's not,
which is what he planned on doing when he was human.
Exactly. And again, I was listening to the companion podcast, and Jacob Anderson, when asked if Louis regrets becoming a vampire, he said yes and then no. Like, yes and no. And I kind of see that, where it's just like, on one hand, you were able to kind of go forward in time, essentially, and be able to live in a way that wasn't so detrimental to you, and like be able to see a time where, yeah, you had more rights and people weren't just immediately judging you on your skin color, or like, and of course, like, racism is not cured and it's still around today, but it's like not nearly as it was back in 1910, 20, 30s, 40s. And like, you did get to be able to openly explore yourself and your sexuality and like essentially be yourself without like an alderman sitting down and like working against you. So on one hand, like, yeah, you got to go forward in time and basically see a time where you could just live. But on the other hand, like, you lost everything. You're traumatized. You don't have your family around. Everyone in your family other than descendants are gone. They don't know who you are. And like, even if your like great grandnieces and nephews are alive, like, how are they going to know you? And you're just, all you had was this shit ass guy and your daughter / sister. And it's,
who is not, if it goes the route of the books,
you
don't have her anymore.
You don't have her anymore either. And at this point, it's like, he's 150. And he even said it too. He's just like, I felt myself going mad. Because again, like, how are you? The world is changing around you and you remain the same. And
that's also why I kind of said, like, as much as I love vampires, and vampires are how I got into horror and fantasy, like, vampires were my first supernatural creature love. I've been obsessed with it. Anything that has vampires in it, I'm watching. That's why I started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because it had vampire in the title.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't think I would ever want to be a vampire. I don't want to be immortal. I would like to be long lived. I would like to live for like maybe 100, 200, 300 years, but I don't want to be immortal.
And I think too, where it's like, the thing about vampirism as a whole, like within mythology, within just storytelling, is that it's often a metaphor for something else. And whether that be queerness or otherness or living outside of society.
Yes, because if you guys don't know, all vampires are queer. I don't care what anybody says.
It's currently fruity, and you can argue with the wall about it.
Yeah.
Or, like, more at 11. But it's inherently, like, vampirism is about otherness. It is about being an outsider. It is about being just not of the society that is around you. And no matter what, as a vampire, regardless of how good or bad things start to get in the future or the past or whatever, you will never fit, like, ever.
Yeah, and even if you have no matter how much power, and this is something that they talk about in this show with the juxtaposition and dichotomy of him being a black man. No matter how much power you have,
You're
you
still,
literally have powers. You're still a black man in the Jim Crow South.
you walk
So
out.
your power can only go but so far.
Yeah, and it's like you walk outside and your vampirism didn't cure the way that people look at you. And now you can hear the way they think about you.
Yes.
You just
Both in your ears and from their thoughts.
like, so not only are you hearing it from their mouths, but even when they're being polite to your face, you hear just how much disdain they have for you. And I'm sure that same thing happened in the future, where, especially, I'm like living through the AIDS epidemic. Imagine, like, you're a gay man, a gay black man, and you're the demographic that is getting so hit by this disease, and then you have to hear people think that you are a plague. And
you deserve it. You deserve to die. This is God's punishment on you, as they used to say back then.
All the time, everything, all the time. And you can't help but do so because it's an ability that's there. It's kind of like I think the real life equivalent would be
like breathing.
X's Instagram, even though you know it'll hurt you. Like, I'm pretty sure you'll have an impulse to read somebody's mind or two, even though you know that you probably won't like what they think. And it's sad. It's a sad existence. And even though he looks like a young man, it's like the motherfucker's tired. Like, and he even said it when he was younger as a vampire. He was only in his like 60s, and he's just like, I can feel myself going mad. Like, I am going crazy. Even if it's not the type of crazy that's like Lestat or Claudia, it's more of a subdued, like, festering. You can see it behind his eyes, where he's just progressively getting more and more done with the shit. And also, I wanted to ask two, kind of like veering off.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Lestat and Claudia commenting about him eating animals still, and him almost immediately just going after a person?
I thought, because this whole dynamic it goes to show like the Libra in Louis, in the sense of like he's trying to keep the peace, trying to keep the balance, and like the whole time when like you show the scenes of like Claudia like fuck him, or he's like try to work it out with him, and she's like, have you talked to him about the same thing? And then you show scenes of like them going back and forth. I'm like, I feel like this is me right now, because I am a Libra. So like I do kind of feel like, again, this is Louis constantly trying to maintain some level of peace and putting everyone else's happiness above his own.
Constantly. Like,
putting everybody before him. And it's like, dude, at a certain point,
maddening.
You need to put yourself first.
Like, that in itself is maddening, because it's like, what did he do when he first turned? He still tried to hold on to his businesses. He tried to still support his family. He like just did this, that, and the other thing. And again, it's like the illusion of choice, because early on when he was like talking to Lestat, and he was like, try for me, try eating like only bad people, try doing this, try doing that. And at the end of the day, it didn't work either. Like, nothing works for Louis. Nothing has been working for Louis.
Even though we know Louis he's vicious. We already saw what he did with the alderman. Piss him off enough, he's just as bad as Claudia and Lestat.
He'll make an art project and then blame somebody else for it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say maybe even worse, because we never saw, like, granted, Claudia's she's taking titties and shit, but like, but we never seen them like actively display it for everybody to see.
Yeah, like,
so in some ways he could be a little bit worse, kind of like Stefan in Vampire Diary, when he goes into his Ripper.
And like, that's the thing too, is like Louis says he's like, he had decades of pent up rage and anger and really know where to put it, essentially. and he just kind of snapped in that instance. And oh, that's another thing. Now that I think about it, oh, this show is so fucking good, Michael. But
hold on, really quick. Let me address this. Beyonce's sister is in the chat. Solange knows, but she said, has the events of Queen of the Dam already happened? What does this mean for Rockstar Lestat and vampires being outed in the known world? No,
I don't think it's happening yet.
No, interview with the vampire. The Queen of the Dam has not happened yet. So AMC has the rights to all of Anne Rice's books, which includes the Vampire Chronicles and the Mayfair Witches. And so they're taking every single book and they're going to do them in order. So right now we're in the interview with the vampire stage, and Queen of the Dam is the third book. So we haven't gotten there yet because next season is going to be the Vampire Lestat. So or maybe not next season, but I have a feeling at a certain point we're going to get the show, or maybe even this season, retold again through Lestat's eyes.
Which is essentially, because the Vampire Lestat is like interview, but Lestat, and also Lestat's backstory.
Yeah.
And also, remember, the first interview in this universe was never published. It was never turned into a book. So I do think that probably alters the trajectory of the timeline and when things would happen, especially since things are happening at a later date. They didn't start in the 1790s. They started in the 1910s. So I think we still have other things that haven't happened in between yet.
So so as far as Rockstar Lestat, I don't think we're there yet, but somebody else asked the question, which I haven't, I lost it in the chat, but like, because they did mention, it did seem like Daniel recognized Lestat's voice when he played the song.
Yeah. Well, he also said he was like, is that his voice though? Like he kind of
that's true. Yeah, that's true. It wasn't like, oh, that's Lestat. Yeah, he's kind of asking. Yeah.
Like, is that what he sounds like? Is that his voice? And he's like, yeah, it's a re-recording. And so, yeah, I don't know if he recognized his voice. He probably just was like, oh, that's what he sounded like. But, or sounds like.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't even finished the first book yet. And we're already at the finale.
Yeah,
they need to have more, should be more episodes. At least maybe 15 episodes. I think they could have got.
Or even 10.
Yeah, or even 10. Like 7. I was just like, and it's such an arbitrary number. Only 7. Like, not even like.
Not 8.
Not 8, not 9, but 7. Like what? And I think part of that is probably because they were scared. They didn't know how this show was going to be received.
And then it got, like, even before it came out, it got greenlit. So that
and then it blew the fuck up. So hopefully next season we get more episodes.
I've been peer pressuring everyone to watch the show.
Same.
Also, there was the one scene, because if we remember Claudia, that was a fucked up scene too. Like this episode, it was kind of like a very unnerving scene of Louis and Claudia talking while him and Lestat were like, that was unnerving.
Having sex. Yeah, I was like, that's kind of weird, especially considering. Granted, she's not, but she is. I'm like,
that was very weird.
She's 14 though, like,
and also not even the fact that that's his daughter.
Yeah, that's your daughter sister, like
daughter sister.
I'm not gonna be talking to. I'm not talking to my sister, my best friend, my whatever. I'm not talking to anybody while I'm having sex, or unless it's like OnlyFans page, like which I don't have. But I'm just like, I'm not talking to nobody while I'm having sex. Like
I was like, now what? Now, like yeah, that was very very strange. But before, no, it was after that. Where Claudia was talking to him while she was playing chess with Lestat. And she mentally talked to him. She was just like, I have a secret. And she was like, what? And she was like, you want to kill him too, and you're going to enjoy it. And if you remember, in episode 3, what does Louis tell Lestat? It's like, you wanted to kill him, and you enjoyed it. Like, that was like another parallel of kind of how similar but different Claudia and Lestat are. Because Lestat told Louis something very similar after he killed the alderman. Where it's
but it's kind of the same thing when Lestat says, come to me, and Claudia said, come with me.
Come with me.
So, like, they always do parallel, because like they're literally almost the two sides of the same coin, Lestat and Claudia. Mm-hmm. So like it goes to show the difference. But Solange also mentioned, but Louis has the cloud gift, so he had to have already drunk from Akasha, no?
At the same time, though, again, this is a different continuity. Like, they're kind of grabbing things from all books. Like, Louis has powers that he didn't have in the book, too.
Yeah.
like
pyrokinesis and all that stuff. Or even them, like him being able to actively read minds. I don't think Louis had that ability.
Wasn't able to read minds, I don't believe.
Yeah.
And so like that, I think they just went a different route because again, like visually, it's just cool. Like it's like,
actually, I was gonna say, and actually, this kind of brings up this. I guess this was this technically their first like actual like sex, full on sex scene. This is the first time we actually seen them have sex.
I think so.
Yeah. I remember saying that was a problem that I had with the show, like because before they implied that they had sex. This is like the first time we've actually seen them having sex. But they added, but it was the weirdness with them talking to Claudia. I was like,
and I was like, at least Michael.
They were like, Michael, you said you wanted it, but we're gonna ruin it for you.
Like
I'll just put it on mute. I just want to see Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed naked.
And I was like,
should have had an ass shot in there.
When I was watching that, I was like, this is the first time we see them do it, and you have a full conversation. I was like, excuse me, like that. And then also too, the fact that it was after what happened in episode 5. So it's everything is. I think it was intentional. I think it was intentional because everything is just gross and weird.
And it just goes to show, like, again, another Buffy reference. Louis is just going through the motions.
Essentially. Like
so,
he's and even Lestat's just like, hey, like Louis, like we're kind of doing something, and he's just like staring off into space, and it's like
because he's also remember he's having a conversation
but
so his mind is literally elsewhere.
And it also, Lestat does know that they're talking. Like
I don't think in that moment he knows.
I don't think in that moment he knows, but he does know that they do talk without him.
Yeah, because he even said, I know you guys are talking. So
yeah. So I'm like, does he know in that moment that they're? Because if he does, also y'all all weird. Like all of you are very weird. Like, yeah.
Well, with that said, talking about weirdness, something we got to get into. How the fuck did Louis or Lestat know Claudia was on that train? And then what train specifically? And how did he find it? Like,
I think Lestat followed her. I think because remember, like, because that was that the same? I need to rewatch the episode. My brain is scrambled eggs. But was that the same scene where like Lestat left earlier before the rest of them?
Yeah, he left right before that. He left right before them.
And I think Lestat did a similar thing like he did with Jonah and Louis, where like he made it seem like he was about to just go with Antoinette, but he actually followed Louis instead. And so I feel like that's the thing. He did the same thing again where he made it look like he was going to go with Antoinette, and then he followed Claudia instead. I think he just followed her.
But that scene was so eerie, especially him teasing her about Bruce and trying to talk about Bruce. Like, obviously he knew about it.
I covered the screen when you put the dog out of the cage.
Oh yeah, I was like, please don't kill the dog. Please don't kill the dog.
So funny because like I'll watch him puppeteer a head and use it as a sock puppet, but I covered the screen.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's so funny how where our boundaries lie. Like we're watching punch through the skull of a priest, and we're like, oh yeah, but then don't kill a dog.
Yeah, no, dead ass. I covered the screen just in case. Then he put it back in the cage, and I was like, oh thank God, because I was like, I couldn't do this. Like,
yeah, I would have been like, fuck Lestat. I would have been done with Lestat at that point. Right now, I'm still rooting for Lestat, but I'm like, if he killed that dog, I'd have been like, nah.
I think the reason why he didn't do it is because he doesn't see a point. You know, like it's not people. There's no point, and so.
No, I don't think he would have drunk from the dog. If he would have killed the dog, I don't think he would have did it to drink from the dog. I think he just did it just to do it.
At the same time, like I think he thinks it's beneath him. Like
a couple people are saying Lestat, Cecile Bruce said it, and Mama Bear Angela said he loves dogs. Lestat always loves dogs.
I didn't think I read somewhere in the early scripts that they had one. And I was very nervous, and I'm just like, I'm low-key glad because I feel like that dog would have ended up dead.
Yeah, no, Louis would have killed that dog.
I'm like, Louis killed it. I can't. Like, Louis killed dog.
Cecile Bruce said he had a dog when he was human.
Okay, so he just used the dog to clean his hands.
Yeah, letting that dog lick the blood off of his hands. Like what?
disgusting. I was like, this is. I hope the dog in real life had like. I hope it was like something good though. Like it was just some jelly or something.
Yeah, usually blood is like made of like corn syrup or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh God. Like it was just the most uncanny. I'm just like, you better not. I was like, here's the thing too. Like I don't know what this Lestat does anymore because I'm like, book Lestat didn't throw a motherfucker out of the sky. The worst thing he did in the books was smack Louis after he like. I think he was like, yeah, he was drinking too much from a person. And he was just like, you have to stop before they're dead. And Louis wasn't stopping. So he slapped him. And like, that's like the worst, at least in interview that he did physically. So I'm like, I don't even know what to expect from this Lestat anymore. Does he like dogs? Does he not? Like, I don't fucking know. Like,
Speaking of animals, how funny was it watching that scene of Louis trying to chase the goat around the house?
I know. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. Like,
that was fun. That to me was funny. I'm just like, it's so sad. Like
this whole situation is so damn sad, and it's like it literally like I feel like my heart broke. I told a friend, I'm like, I feel like it just gets sadder and gayer like every episode, like simultaneously sadder and gayer. And it's like that one chart where it's like the more you fuck around, the more you find out.
Yeah,
like,
fuck around and find out. Yeah,
the gayer it gets, and then the gayer it gets, the sadder it gets, and it's just yeah.
Because this episode was definitely gay, but it was like I wasn't happy. Like again, you literally had a sexy something I've been calling for. I finally got my wish, and it's just like
this is what you manifested, Michael.
Yeah, it's like, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Like I was watching it, and I'm like, I don't know if Michael's gonna be happy about it. Oh,
but yeah, that poor dog. He let the dog lick blood, so now the dog will bite their owner. Yeah, now the dog has a taste for blood.
Is that true? I feel like my dog has like accidentally licked a cut on me before.
That's what they say. The rumor, like,
I don't think that's
they're wolves at the end of the day, so like they're carnivores.
And
so
my dog,
say, dog gets blood. Which I don't think it's necessarily true either, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm like my loaf of a dog, but yeah, like it's just I felt literally like for the first 30 minutes, I'm like, I feel so sick. Like it just feels sick. I am happy though that Louis got a freaking at least some kind of comeuppance, because I was just like, drag him, beat his ass. Like I am a listen. I am now.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and rewatch the episode. Like even think about them when they fought again before they had sex, and you asked if he stabbed. I was like, I didn't notice the stab. Did he stab him?
Look at his hand. Like look, because what happens is he pushes Lestat down. He drags him up. He kisses him, and then immediately after kissing him, he like you see his like hand go back with his nails, and he just like stabs the shit out of him.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look. But also, Rem Holloway. Oh no! So what were you about to say? No, go to say it. Then I'll read this.
I'm also reading it too.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think Lestat. Granted, Lestat. We've seen Lestat have a lot of restraint and control, but considering the type of stuff they've been saying to each other, I don't know if Lestat will have this much control to not let them know that he could hear them.
Here's the thing. I think he knows, kind of like in real life, the equivalent too, where it's like you can have like the inclination that like your partner's cheating on you or something, but never see it. Like you kind of have the vibe or the feeling. Like I think that's kind of like what it is, where it's like he has the vibe or the feeling that like when it gets silent or when they're like looking at him funny, he's like, oh, they're talking shit. But I don't think he can hear them. Like I think he just knows they're talking shit.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Because even when they first started talking to each other, it's like, okay, he's like, okay, I know you guys are talking. And he like tries to stop it because he doesn't like the feeling of feeling left out.
Yeah, and also too, like when you see in episode 5, before the fight like really kicks off, he doesn't lose his shit until Claudia actually talks out loud. Like come with me and we'll be vampires worthy of your love. That's when he loses his shit. Meanwhile, beforehand, in her head, she said his love is a box that he keeps you in. And she said all this derogatory shit, but he didn't hear it. Like, I'm pretty sure he would have lost it earlier had he heard what she was saying.
Correct. But it also goes to show like how brutal and ruthless and scary Lestat is when he, and also his level of power where he's like, if I think hard, like I can expand my reach in terms of who I can hear from miles. So he heard Bruce, and that's how he was able to find out what happened to Claudia. And he's like, he still thinks, like him taunting her, he still thinks about you or whatever. It's like, this guy is so
dead ass like friends to kill Claudia. He's like, I won't do what Bruce did, but I will like rip you apart. Because he can.
Because he can.
And that's
because remember he said in last episode, it's never been about you, Claudia. It's always been about him. But then he says that bullshit of like, I can't live my life without you, Louis. And then he looks at Claudia. Oh yeah, my bad. I can't live my life without you either, Claudia. Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck you, lie.
Yeah, why you always lying?
And also too, like it's just so gross where he was just like you're here to, I made you to make Louis happy, now go make Louis happy. Like that was so gross.
It was.
That whole,
like, you can't like despite how much Louis loves her, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna still let you go because you're smarter than me. You can see
because that's real love.
Yeah, that's real love. You say if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours, and that's how you know what a girl wants. But like,
dance break.
Yeah. But clearly that shows the true. And Claudia or Lestat is like, no, fuck, Louis needs you right now, and I need Louis to forgive me, so I'm not letting you go. You're basically stuck here, so you can either go willingly or.
Prime example of just like, okay, do they love each other? It's just like, I think Louis loves Claudia. I think Claudia loves Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lestat knows how to love. Like, I do not think he does.
I think he loves in his way. Like he thinks he loves.
He thinks, yeah, like he thinks he loves, but what he does is like, again, like kind of like what he thinks somebody would want.
Yes.
Kind of like an alien pretending to be a person. Like it's just, it's not, it doesn't come off correctly ever.
And I think part of it also, to not to excuse his behavior, but remember, this is like the 1930s at this point. There is no therapy or anything. Like the patriarchy is hella strong at this point. I think all of this is really just a reflection of his trauma. Like,
oh yeah, again, it's an explanation, but not an excuse.
Yeah, it's not an excuse. Yeah, that's why I was like saying it's not an excuse, but yeah, like Fabulous said, toxic people love too. They just love in a toxic way.
Yeah, again, like they did something.
In our mind, it's not our definition of what we think is real love, but it's his version of love.
And even Louis said it too. He was just like, one of them broke through, and I went back, and I'm like, but why though? Why? But also too, it's just like, do you think part of the reason why Louis went back is because he knew that like he would never let him go?
I think that's part of that, but at the same time, he ignored him for 6 years.
Yeah, but like again, like 6 years, like kind of like you say in vampire time is like,
yeah, it's a blink of an eye.
Blink. And
but still, he could have kept ignoring him for another 6 years. That's still, even if 12 years, that's still a blink of an eye in vampire time. So he could have kept ignoring him, but something, like he said, something finally cracked his armor. I don't think it was the fact that he kept bothering him. He kept calling. I think it was more of he also had a sense of longing as well.
Also, like now that I really think about it, Antoinette, girl, not only did you let him cut off your finger, but you really recorded basically
a love song for somebody else's man. Yeah.
Someone else.
That's why I said earlier, and going back to Cecile Brown. I was literally just about to bring this up. Let's going back to what I said earlier in the live stream, where I said, how good is Lestat's dick that he has these two people dickmatized so hard? Lestat dropped him Louis out of the sky. He fucked him up. He blinded him in one eye, severed his vertebrae. Antoinette was willing to cut off her finger, give up her whole life, just to be able to sleep with this man. And I'm just like, again, I'm gonna say it again, just in case people joined the live chat long or later. How good is this man's dick, and where can I find one? Because like,
I'm so. I when I really think about that, I'm like, not only did you like do Louis dirty with that, but like your side piece also, like you really were just like, I wrote this song, I composed this song. It is not for you.
200 years of practice. Like he's dick, like got these people dickmatized.
Oh, and also speaking of people, Nikki. What do you feel? How do you feel about him talking about Nikki?
Nikki.
His boyfriend.
Oh, his ex. I was like, Nikki Marina? I was like, was she in this episode?
No, it'd be great. AMC hit her up. She's an actress.
Yeah.
But what do you think about him? Because Louis knows about Nikki before, like Claudia knew in depth, so he did tell.
Yeah, he did tell
Louis about him. But like, what do you think about?
And did he say he tried to make? Did he say he tried to make Nikki? Because he said something.
Because I believe Nikki also discontinued his own subscription.
Yeah, but was that after he was already a vampire?
Did he?
They kind of hint that Lestat tried to make him a vampire or something.
Yeah, it took me years to try again. So I think he did actually turn, because he did turn him in the books, but Nikki died. So I do think he tried to turn Nikki, or he did turn Nikki, and it just didn't go well because Nikki himself. Yeah. And I think that's what happened too, and I think that's the reason, because he did seem genuinely shook when Louis was like, "Did you kill my brother?" He was like, "No, what the fuck?" Like, I think that's one line he wouldn't cross, because he's already lost two prominent people to suicide: his maker and his boyfriend. So I don't think that he would influence somebody else to do it, because that's like a direct line to his own trauma. Again, not doing it for Louis' sake, but his own sake. Like, he just didn't want that for himself.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like enjoyed being able to peel the curtain back in a lot of ways behind Lestat, because it also, again, doesn't excuse it, but it also makes you, and this also goes to show a good, like, the great performance that Sam Reed is putting on, where it's like, despite how toxic Lestat is, and yeah, when we get to the end of this episode, it's like, yeah, no, he needs to die. Like, despite having those feelings, at the same time, I'm still like, but I like Lestat. And a lot of that is a lot from Sam Reed's great, and of course the writing as well. Yeah. Sam Reed's, but most of that, because writing means nothing if you don't have the actor to pull it off. But his incredible performance.
And he also, like, he touches upon it too, where he's just like, I never wanted this. And when Louis and Claudia are asking him questions, and he's just like, I never wanted this, but I
made the best of it. And it goes to show, like, there are parallels between him, and which makes me go, well, if you know what it's like, why would you do what you did? But whatever, that's a whole nother conversation. But at the same time, it shows that there are parallels between Louis and Lestat. Like, Louis didn't want it either. He knows what it's like, and Lestat, like, but he made it work. What'd you say?
Claudia too. Claudia didn't want it either.
Yeah, not none of that. And it goes back to, again, vampirism is out of trauma.
Yeah, and he said, he's like, all vampires are created out of trauma. Even Daniel, when he asked for it, it's like Daniel was a drug addict. Like, that in itself is trauma. You're going through physical, mental, and emotional trauma, and you're essentially using this very permanent decision to try to alleviate that, but it won't do that. And everyone's just so fucked up. It's like, it's just so sad. Like, it's so sad. You all need therapy, like, all of you.
But, yeah, that's also Isaiah Taylor said, keep in mind this story is being told from Louis' point of view. Can't wait until we get into the Vampire Lestat adaptation. Also, well, it's being told from two perspectives, because we're also getting Claudia's diaries, so it's also being told from Claudia's point of view as well.
Claudia can't fucking stand Lestat. So
Claudia can't stand, and we got all of that. We got all of that in this episode. Like,
yeah,
Claudia's just like, leave this nigga. Like, what are you doing?
like she's just like leave him like she
and she's like, let's go to Paris. What are those places? I'm like Louis. I can't say it. I can't say it either. I'm like, I've never even heard of this place.
Also, I noticed too, and I don't know if it was on purpose, but when Louis gets nervous or Louis feels uneasy, he starts to stutter.
I didn't notice that.
You notice it too in when they're picking out Claudia's coffin, and when he's trying to come up with a cover story, and he's like, real soon, like he's trying to get like the words out, and they just kind of stop because it's like he's nervous. And I noticed that. I was like, and also too when he's confessing in the pews, he's also stuttering. So
no, I didn't notice, but that's a good call. That's a good catch.
If you rewatch,
which is also a good acting choice.
Yeah, if you rewatch the episodes and you rewatch the series, you notice in times of like pretty high stress, or in times where he's in distress, he'll start to stutter, and it's like, oh, I'm just like, oh my god, because I'm like, I stutter too, so I'm like, it's just making me emotional, but like I don't know if it's a purposeful thing. I don't know if it just kind of happened.
No, I think it's probably definitely
it's probably
I think it's an acting show. But also, speaking of emotional, I love this moment. But yeah, that going back. Oh wait, wrong. Wait, no, the chat's jumping on me. What happened? Where'd it go? Oh, there we go. So when Lestat tried to get Louis back, and he's like, I can see Louis there, like I can see his silhouette. Let him speak for himself, and he threw that coffin out the window.
And that's why they're sleeping in the same coffin, because he threw Lestat's out.
Which I'm just like, again, granted, I know people are like, let's leave them alone, but I'm like, where are the people? Like, do they not notice all of this stuff happening?
I know. First of all, like, you threw something from the second story that looks heavy as shit.
Yeah.
It's a coffin. Like just not, well, besides the fact that you just chucked a huge ass box out the window, the box is also a coffin. Why the hell did you have that?
But that moment was so funny. That was giving me full Angela Bassett when she took her husband's clothes and put it in the car and set that shit on fire.
He really said everything you own in the box to the left.
Yeah. She's like, get your shit, and get out. That's exactly what that was. I love that. That was so funny. He's like, and Claudia's giving him the look like, there's your answer.
When Claudia like scratched up his car too, she was like, they were just not happy.
That's why I said, like, this episode, I can't think of the actress's name. Fuck, hold on, let me Google it real quick.
Who?
Claudia?
Bailey Bass.
I'm like, give her all the awards for this episode. Like, I love her in this episode.
Not bringing gifts. Like, gifts are not gonna fix his PTSD. He still has PTSD.
Yeah. When he was in the coffin sleeping, and he kept waking up because he said, I still feel myself falling.
Even modern Louis has PTSD. He's still scarred from it, and it's been like almost 100 years.
100 years. So, which also goes back to somebody's earlier comment when it was like he had 200 years to get over it. Clearly, that doesn't work.
I mean, also like the guy, like I think it's hard to, like, even if you're a vampire, like I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that would quickly forget that their supposed love of their life dragged them by the jaw and then dropped them out of the sky, and then fucked up the entire house and then fucked off and basically only came back to give you gifts that meant nothing. Like
Louis rich. He could buy his own fucking car. Like, what do you do? Like, what do you think you're doing?
Like, again, love bombing. Like, he's just doing things that he think might get somebody to engage with him, and the only thing that works is the thing that attracted him to Louis in the first place, and that was getting him angry.
But really quick, Amber, it's okay if you missed the beginning of the stream. You're here now, but if you want, once the stream is over, you can go back and watch the replay. That's the beauty of YouTube. This episode will always be up there, so anything that you missed, you can catch on the replay. And that's for anybody else because I saw somebody else come in and say, "Oh man, I jumped in late." You can check out and also just to support the channel for the watch time. Go back and watch the replay. Once you get up to the catch up to the point that you're at, you could turn it off or let it play while you're sleeping for the watch time. Watch, like, share, comment, interact on this video for the all gay rhythm. But yeah, Antonio, I think Claudia and Lestat's relationship is very mother who sees too much of herself in her daughter, coded. And yeah, they kind of mention that when it's like, as much as Claudia hates Louis and Lestat, they're essentially the same.
Yeah.
And that's why they hate each other so much. And that's why they show the great juxtaposition of the two of them in that brilliant chess game. Like, she's learning from him and becoming more and more like him, because in order to, you know, what she said, what's that saying? You know, the best way to defeat your enemy is to become like your enemy, or whatever, something like that.
Become the mask in order to defeat them. And they think like them, move like them, because how else are you going to get under them? And that's the thing. It's like that Lestat's sneaky, that even when you think that you're rid of him or that you think you're free of him, he will just pop up and come back like a boomerang. He's a fucking cockroach. Like, he just doesn't go away. And so she basically had to, like, make herself a thorn in his side. And I love like toward the end too of the episode where Claudia wins and he's like baffled, like he's shocked because he doesn't believe it at first. He's just like, this bitch won, the fuck? And
then, I also loved, that she, in a sense, that she gave him a sense of blue balls, where it's like she won, but she wouldn't make the final move.
Yeah, and she wouldn't make the final move, and he's like, finish the game. And he throws a whole tantrum because she won't play his game anymore. And that's like, it was like literally the perfect metaphor for their whole dynamic, because he's been basically the chess master the whole time, being able to move the pieces how he pleases, get the things that he wants, and this time he didn't get it.
He got beat.
And he got beat
by someone he didn't expect to ever be beaten by.
Yeah.
Because in some ways he still sees Claudia as a child, like even calling her sister. He says where Louis means it, he says it genuinely.
Yeah, but Lestat
says it condescendingly.
Yeah, Lestat says it because it's what's expected of him, essentially.
Yeah.
And when he throws the tantrum and he's like, finish the game, because it's like he needs some semblance of control over something. And he lost control in that moment, just kind of like he lost control in episode 5. And he even says, like, I don't know what came over me. It's like, what came over you is the fact that you could see somebody considering not letting you be in charge anymore. And that's what it is. Like, the thing that sets him off is the fact, is the thought that somebody could potentially do something without him, or be like able to function without him, or be smarter than him. Like, he can't fathom it. And they lost his shit. And then you could see Louis in the background, like the gears working in his head. He's like, I'm gonna beat this bitch up. Like you could just see the growing, he looked so done. And again, Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed both need Emmys.
So let me ask you this, because this is an interesting comment that I see from Fabulous One. I don't see how this comment started, but she was responding to somebody else. But she was like, I think it's because I view emotional and mental abuse as far as worse than physical. Episode 5, Louis was emotionally abusive, so I was not too upset about the beatdown.
Okay, so
because we do talk a lot about Lestat being emotionally abused, Lestat doing this, Lestat doing that, but it's not like Louis doesn't. It's not like Louis doesn't have his hands dirty as well.
Louis does admit that he intentionally provokes, and we also see now that there is very, very good evidence that Louis is gaslighting the fuck out of Daniel. And so, like, again, everyone here needs therapy and everyone here is terrible. Let's all remember that while we're talking about this show. Again, it is a horror, and don't let the first 4 episodes fool you. Well, listen,
really quick to throw that out there, because that's also really quick something I don't understand about people being upset about this show, being upset that Lestat did what he did, or the level of violence in this show. I'm like, this is a horror show. Like, it's horror.
It's the gothic horror.
Of course, these characters will be doing horrible things.
All of them. Louis making art pieces and Christmas decorations. out of
Like,
human.
this isn't a rom-com. Like, what do you
And
mean? Like, what are you upset? Because there were people like upset to the point that they were sending. Granted, he's not on social media, but they were like trying to go after Sam Reed and sending him
what?
like
Yeah,
threats
right.
and shit because they didn't like how episode 5 ended, and they're like, "That's not hashtag not my Lestat," and yada yada yada.
It's like, yes, it is. Like, they're fucking vampires. They are vampires.
And then trying to say like he would never do this in the books, and it's like, okay, but this also isn't the books though. Like,
It's
this
not
is an
book.
adaptation. It's not a one for one. Like, you still have Lestat in the books. Like, it's
You can just, if you're that upset, read the books. Like, but it's the thing is, like, this is the reason why I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment is because, like, again, like I think I told you it this way too, where it's like I feel like, and not necessarily the punishment, because you shouldn't punish somebody for feeling their feelings, you know, like, don't get it twisted, but I feel like I guess the quote unquote consequences should meet the quote unquote like crime, you know? Like, I don't think anything Louis did should have, like, I don't think anything Louis did warranted that reaction out of that. And here's the thing, where it's like, again, I know why he did it. I know the explanation as to why he is the way he is. I know what his reasoning and motive was to do it. However, you still dropped him out of the fucking sky. Like, you still dragged your supposed love of your life, who could not fight back at your caliber because physically he could not, and you dropped him out of the sky. There was no fairness. There was no set. Like, it would be different if they were both scrapping. And I even think it's different in episode 6 where Louis retaliates and you see the bruises on Lestat. Because, like, again, Louis cannot do what Lestat did to him.
No, unless Lestat lets him, which is what happened. Which is what happened in this episode. Lestat let him do what he did.
Yeah, Lestat let Louis get those punches in, because if Lestat wanted to, he could rip Louis in half. But, like, Louis cannot fight back to the same extent. It was not even a fight. Lestat beat the shit out of Louis, like, for defending their daughter.
And Chancey said, I have a lot of questions about how that house is still standing. It should be a building site. Because that episode, that house looked destroyed. Then we get to this episode, it's like, it don't look that bad. Now, granted, it's been a couple years, so maybe they fixed some stuff, but then they said they're not fixing the damage though. So, like,
fix all of it. They didn't fix all of it, because she said, it's like, we keep some damage to remember the damage. Like, we don't want to forget it, because if we forget it, then you're gonna do it again, essentially.
Yeah, but I'm like, that house should be like trashed.
And the thing about Louis too, because I said this before, Louis, A, again, unreliable narrator, and B, is also a hypocrite. Like, he does that shit too, and he also, like for example, in episode 3, right, where Antoinette is introduced. Yeah. And so, like, Louise tells Daniel, my libido is low, we're not, like, doing anything, and then he goes out to the bayou perfectly fine with Jonah. So
clearly your libido wasn't that low. You chose not to.
It's a Lestat issue. And
yeah, you chose not to have sex with Lizzie because
it's like, and you don't communicate that. Like, you're not communicating that it's a Lestat issue. You're saying, I can't do A, B, and C, and then you're proceeding to also do A, B, and C. You get angry at Lestat, accusing him of taking your life, accusing him of doing A, B, and C, and then you go up to a 14-year-old girl and ask him to do the same thing for your sake. Like, he's also a hypocrite, and he also does very questionable things. He made a Christmas ornament, and I'll say it, the alderman deserved it.
Definitely did.
Deserved it. Like, he really did. I'm saying he deserved it, and I'm saying God's timing was also right. Like, he deserved it. But as far as, like, relationship wise, he did also tell Daniel, he's like, yeah, no, I poked at him, I provoked him, but at the same time, like, being kind of a bitch, which is, again, And even then, it's just like he also was just a worried dad. He didn't know where his daughter was. Like, she just left. He was depressed. Like, I think most parents would be devastated if their kid just fucked off and they didn't know where they were. So Lestat also was kind of being insensitive, basically acting like Claudia never happened and basically just being like, let's just dismantle her room, knowing damn well that Louis loves her. And yeah, like, was he kind of ignoring Lestat? Yes, but also Lestat was being not cognizant of how Louis felt and what he actually wanted. Again, he's offering concert tickets when all he wants is Claudia. He's offering sex when he wants to find his fucking kid. Like, it's just, Lestat does not effectively know how to give somebody what they actually want. And then get angry when the person, like, says, this is what I want, and they're like, but I'm here. They don't want you. They want what they want. Like, so it's, again, they're not good for each other, but I will say, like, nothing Louis did warranted what Lestat did. And I will go as far to say as, yeah, Lestat had every right to fucking, sorry, Louis had every right to stab Lestat and get a few punches in. Like, that is the least amount of damage he could have done.
I do kind of wonder though, because it seemed like Louis was surprised that Lestat has the quote unquote cloud gift. But I'm like, when y'all first met, y'all had sex and y'all were floating in the air. Like, what?
But that's another thing too, where it's just like, again, unreliable narration, where it's like, did you know he could fly or not? And also, like, was that flying or was it just levitating?
I mean, granted, it might not have been. But how far? When did flying stop and levitating? Because I'm like, I mean, technically, he wasn't flying. Like, flying, I feel like it's going like you're flying, but like Lestat went up, so like technically it's levitating.
Yeah, he technically, and he even said it too. He's like, he said it was more like gliding, or more like floating. Like, yeah. Like, so, but at the same time, it's like, you knew he could float and you were human too. That's another thing too. Louis fucking weird because, like, I talked about that.
I just noticed you wearing a Michael Myers shirt. I literally just noticed you're wearing a Halloween shirt.
I got a Halloween box recently.
But speaking of shirts, guys, support your boy. Get you one of my shirts. You know, I got like Decolonize Your Fantasy, because I say that all the time with regards to like people always talking about reading fantasy by white people with starring white actors and white casts, especially when it comes to, I'm like, no, decolonize your fantasy. Read black authors, read black queer authors, read queer authors. So if you want to support your boy, get you a Decolonize Your Fantasy shirt. Get that Blood, Sex, Gore, and Magic shirt. Get you some Black Gay Comic Geek merch. You can get it on a mug. You don't have to get it on the shirt. You can get it on a pillowcase. Whatever. Support your boy. Anyway, support Amanda. Follow her stuff. I don't know if she has merch, but if she has merch.
I have merch.
To get you some Amanda. I'm just vibing merch. Click the link in the description box below. But hold up, before I get back to, well, generally you have to work through the toxic shit in relationship. There are 12 books that paint Lestat in a different light. Louis remains his. They hold on to each other. I know. I think in the books, yeah, they are endgame.
Yeah, they are, like.
But I know Lestat, granted, I've only read Interview with the Vampire. I haven't read the other books, but I did read up on it. And I know Lestat is way different. He does evolve and change and become a better person throughout the books, but we ain't there yet, babe. We are not there yet.
We're not in the age of therapy, guys.
Yeah, no.
We are in the age of toxic masculinity and holding in your feelings until you explode. And it's like, yeah, it's so sour. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's so sour now to watch any interaction. Like, even them like cuddling in the coffin, I'm just like, get out. Get out of the coffin. Like, please go. It's not cute.
Again, yeah, it was going, like I said, this episode was hella gay, but it wasn't what I wanted. Because it was so sad. Like, it wasn't like the honeymoon phase where before it's like everything was peaches and rainbows or whatever. Now it's like rotten peaches and
it's like it's old and it's just yeah. Like I literally was like watching them interact and I was like watching that and I'm like, you give me the ick. Like, you're gross. Like the charm is gone. And I think, and I was wondering too, I was like wondering after episode 5, I was like, why the fuck did they do this? And I just had like, and I watched it 3 times despite how badly it triggered me. But like, actually triggered, not the internet version. Like I was not good for a couple hours, but I was just trying to think, and I'm like, why on earth did they do this? And I did really think about it, and I'm like, it's because we liked him too much, and that was on purpose. Like, we felt the way Louis felt, where we, again, let the tale seduce us, and we watched a pseudo horrible, horrific, as Daniel says, a fucked up gothic romance, and it just immediately got shattered within 5 minutes, like the whole thing. And now you look at it and it's just pieces, and you're like, why the fuck was I rooting for you? Like, it made me like sit back and think, and I'm like, I feel icky for even thinking that this could go right, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And same, Jocelyn, like the chess game. I love the chess game. But yeah, like it goes to show, like there's still like the charm for Lestat is kind of gone, but the acting and charm that Sam Reed is giving is still he's still it's still giving. It's still
giving, but with the knowledge now, it doesn't come off as charming anymore.
No.
It recontextualizes the way he acts, because
you can see like it's very manipulative. Like you could tell. Like, and honestly, I think the moment that broke me the most, not even the fight, the moment I saw that Antoinette was still alive, I said, "Fuck this nigga." I said, "Fuck."
And he said, "I'll kill her soon," like 4 times. She's still breathing.
Yeah, that was the moment I was like, I was done. I was like, fuck him.
He's just too freaking selfish.
And granted, and I was like, I'm not surprised, because even despite, I was like, she's not dead. Like, I didn't think we were gonna find out that was actually her finger. I was thinking that he brought like some random finger and was like, yeah, she's dead. And then we cut to find out, no, she actually cut her finger. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, how would they even know it was hers? But like,
and Louis seeing it and just kind of being so like removed and like being sad but not surprised, like it hurts. Like it just hurts to watch.
But even just seeing like he was kind of when he thought she was gone, and he kind of like smiled, like Louis Lestat, both of them, Louis and Claudia, they smiled and was like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
and then to find out she's not even dead, I was like, "Oh, this."
And still sleeps with him after
he
that.
is trash.
he still sleeps with him after that too.
And that's the thing. It'd be one thing if he was like, because I have feelings for you, I can't unalive you, but I need some type of, and then after this, we're done. We can't be together anymore. I'm moving on. Like our relationship is over, but I don't want to end your subscription of life. If that was the case, I'd be like, okay, fine. But the fact that he's still actively sleeping with her, confiding in her.
Yeah.
And like,
but what gets me too is the fact that like after that scene, like that's the scene where him and Louis are like Louis and Lestat are having sex, and he's talking to Claudia, and I'm just like, and after you saw that, you still
brought him, yeah.
What?
Because they're both toxic.
Toxic
people love toxic people.
You need therapy. Say it with me. Therapy. Like you need.
There was no therapy in the 1930s.
Like holy shit! Like I was watching that, I was like, no way. No way. You're like.
But what he said, the vampire bond is something that human can't understand. So maybe we need to be turned to understand the toxicity. I don't know. But speaking of needing therapy, ML White is asking, is Malloy also struggling with his drug addiction and sexuality? He was married, but is now twice divorced. I don't think he's struggling with his drug. I mean, once a drug addict, always a drug addict. But I don't think he's like actively struggling with drugs. But as far as his sexuality, he might be struggling with his sexuality. But
he's sober now.
Daniel is bisexual. So him being married isn't.
Yeah, like him being married to women doesn't negate the fact
that it doesn't negate his bisexuality.
Example, like I'm married to a man, I'm still bi. Like it doesn't magically go away because you decided to engage in a relationship with one of the various genders that you're attracted to. Like, it doesn't, just like Lestat being with Louis doesn't make him gay.
Yeah. And then also, not even just that, but there are heterosexual people that get divorced constantly. So I don't think the divorce has to do with his sexual. I don't think. We can find out later on. It might be.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think it just might have to do with the fact that he's a journalist, probably wasn't home. Like, probably still struggled with drugs with his wives. Like, it probably has multiple factors.
It probably wasn't a sexuality. Yeah, it could have been a drug addiction thing. So.
Yeah, and the fact that he's constantly working, like, it could have been anything. And so I do believe he's still in the, like, he even says it too, like, he deflects with Louis when he's just like, Louis like, we met in a gay bar. He's like, I was trying to score. I'm like, yeah, you were trying to score something.
Because he even says, like, if something happens, we can sleep together. But yeah, but Lestat in the books legitimately love Claudia. In the show, he doesn't even pretend to like Claudia.
Yeah, but but at the same time, we're seeing it from Louis and Claudia's perspective.
True.
And Claudia cannot stand Lestat.
So there's that too. So maybe, yeah, being that perspectives will more than likely change in the show. We can see from once we get to Lestat's perspective, it's like, no, I actually did love Claudia. Because now that you bring up that point, because he even makes reference to Louis makes reference to that where Claudia's like, he doesn't like me, he doesn't care, but he's like, no, but he's trying to teach you piano lessons, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do this with you, but you're not accepted. Like, but she doesn't accept that
because she can't stand him. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
like, she doesn't like him. So, and she's also, and we're seeing it from Louis' point of view. Louis is seeing that Claudia doesn't like Lestat, and then we're seeing Claudia's point of view. Claudia does not like Lestat. So we're only getting the points of view from people who are salty at Lestat. And so, again, I'm pretty sure a lot of things that happened, but we don't know the context in which they happened, and we don't know exactly what happened. And now we also see that Louis is probably gaslighting Daniel. So, like, at least modern Louis is. So we do not know who the fresh funky fuck is telling the truth, essentially. Like,
yeah, unreliable narrator. There's unreliable narrators all around.
Yeah, like, we don't know who's telling the truth.
Yeah, this is something that I was talking about when I mentioned sister. He says it as a microaggression.
Sister derogatory. Like, it's sister, and then in parentheses derogatory. Like, he doesn't. Yeah.
and going into the dynamics of Louis being a white, granted, nobody ever said racist, but like, yeah, white people hate being called racist. Yeah, and that's true. Like, they're so offended by being called racism being called racist more than their racist acts.
That happened at work once when I used to work in retail, and one of my coworkers, all I said when they said that we shouldn't teach critical race theory in schools, and I said, well, I think they should, and she was like, well, I don't get it. I'm like, well, you're not gonna get it, you're white. And she immediately responded by saying, I'm not racist.
And that's immediately where their mind goes, and that goes to pivot a little bit to the conversation, but it's still also relevant with the show. But it's like, there's levels of race. Like, there people automatically think, saying, oh, what you said was racist. They think if you say that I'm automatically trying to accuse you as a bad person. Like, I'm saying that, but that means I'm calling you a Klan member. And it's like, no, just because I said what you said was racist doesn't necessarily mean I'm calling you a member of the Ku Klux Klan. They're racist as well, but racism has levels. There's the Ku Klux Klan, and then there's the people that will see a black person in a hoodie that will cross the street. Maybe they're not a Klan member, but that's still a racist thought. Even as black people, we have thoughts against our own people. Like Jesse, why am I drawing a blank on his name? But I Am Somebody, the guy that ran for president in the 80s, he had a quote that said something like, I was walking the streets one day, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm definitely gonna butcher this phrase, but basically talking about how he was walking, like, if there's a black person walking behind him or whatever, he will automatically get a thought of like, am I about to get jumped or something like that, and then I'm alleviated when I found out it's a white person. That's basically the gist of it. I butchered the fuck out of it, but that's like the gist of it. That goes to show that even black people have anti-black thoughts.
Yeah.
And so just because you have them, that doesn't say you're a Klan member. That just says what you did in this moment was racist. Address it, apologize, and move on. And I feel like that's something that white people don't want to acknowledge or see. It's like, no, I was uncomfortable about what you said. Okay. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry, and then let's move on from the conversation. But then I feel like they'll make it worse by saying, I'm not racist. I have black friends or whatever. It's like,
yeah, they just dig themselves a deeper hole. Mind you, this was the same coworker that compared my hair to that of her poodle mix. Yeah. So that was a bad work environment, Michael. It's not
that's just straight up. I'm not going to excuse that one.
Yeah, she compared my hair to that of her poodle mix. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, no reprimanding, nothing. But
Lestat reminds me of Klaus Michelson. Yes, absolutely.
Y'all gonna hate me. I have not seen the rest of the Vampire Diaries. I have not seen the originals.
I like the originals more than the Vampire Diaries, honestly.
Better. I've not seen. I've seen a couple episodes of the Vampire Diaries, and then I just kind of fell off.
Why are we feeling bad about serial killers beating each other up when episode 2, corny salesman couldn't get daughter pony and got thrown in the dumpster? Because we're all toxic people. We love vampires, and we feel sorry for these vampires.
The comment's hilarious though, because it's not wrong. Like, we really are debating the morality of 2 serial killers beating each other up.
One is less of a serial killer, but Louis got bodies too. Like, as much as we've talked about, Louis got bodies. So like,
Louis bodies, and he started up killing again in the 30s, and he said my last kill was in 2000, so he'd been killing.
Yeah, he'd been killing
years. Oh my god, that's hilarious. So it's like, why are we?
Because we're emotionally attached to these people, these creatures, because we have trauma too. Missing, don't call us out on our trauma. Listen. But you're emotionally, you're feeling bad too, or something. Because you're watching the show just like us.
Okay, vampires are inherently serial killers, so I can excuse the vampire eating, but I can't excuse domestic violence. Okay, like.
Just like if Lestat would have killed that dog, I would have been upset.
That would have been on site. Like, I can deal with the puppeteering the conductor's head, but I draw the line at animal cruelty. Like, I have standards, guys. Yeah, I can't do that. I literally was covering the screen. I watched him punch through a priest's head, and I covered the screen at the prospect of him hurting a dog. If that, like, I have standards, but
standards. iStar Sab is saying, I love that Amanda is being fair to both Lestat and Louis.
If there's one thing I love, it's freaking nuance. Like,
nuance. What's that? That doesn't exist on the internet.
I love nuance, because like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Louis is a saint. Like, he's not. Like, it's very clear that he isn't, and he's, again, like an unreliable narrator. And then Lestat is just fucked up. Like, that there's really no 2 ways about it. And they are horrible to each other.
But yeah, same, Chan. I love that interview with the vampires, a show you could talk and dissect for hours. Yeah, honestly, like last week we went for like almost like 3.5 hours, which I was not expecting to do. And I was like, we're not doing that for this week. We're not doing that for this week. And we're already at like the 2.5 hour mark. So like
it's so good. But
I appreciate all you guys for rocking with, because we're still at 144 people on the stream. So like, you guys are enjoying, because obviously if everybody dipped off, like, oh, they're still like, obviously we wouldn't be talking anymore. But like, yeah. So I love that the show is, I love dissecting the show with Amanda and all you guys too, reading the comments, and the fact that, again, this is the most I've ever had. I've been doing YouTube for 3 years now. This is the most I've ever had in a live stream. I was hoping that we would hit 150. We got close. I got up to 149, but I never got to that 150 mark. So that's the next time.
But that's the thing where it's just like, I reiterate it almost every week. It's like, they're terrible. They're terrible to each other and for each other.
But I still can't get enough.
And they're horribly perfect for each other. Because, like...
Wait, hold up. Can you guys hear us?
There's no sound.
Yeah, there's no sound. Can you not hear it? Were we talking this whole time and nobody could hear us?
Can you hear us, guys?
Wait.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Yes, they can hear us. Okay, there we go. I was getting scared. I'm like, wait, what happened?
Have a discussion. But yeah, like I basically say it on a weekly basis where it's just like they're terrible to each other, and they're horribly perfect for each other. And it's a horror. And it's one of those things where it's like, this ain't a fan fiction. This ain't whatever headcanons. This ain't like, it's a horror. And there's multiple different I have not seen Legacies either. I'm one of those people where it's like I fall into like holes of content, and for some reason completely miss shit. Like I hadn't seen or read Twilight until 2020. Like yeah.
So
So
you say that I've never seen or read any of the Twilight movies because I refuse.
if that tells you
I'm like, vampires that can spark a fuck that.
for like fairies.
And then also the fact that she was like hella racist and said vampires can't be black because it doesn't make sense. I'm like, bitch, you made up the whole fucking universe. Anything can make sense because you're writing it. So basically, you're trying to excuse your racism.
Michael, she said the venom eats their melanin. And if that was true, then they wouldn't have dark hair or dark eyes. They would be basically albino. But
yeah, like it doesn't make sense. Like you're just trying to find excuses to justify your racism. Yeah.
Because here's the thing: it's like melanin's not just in your skin. It literally it's the reason why every part of your body has pigment. So if it genuinely ate the melanin, then their hair would be platinum. Because it'd be an absence of melanin, Stephanie. So no, you're just right. That was racist, sweetheart. But
speaking of not being racist, thank you so much, Alasia Meeks, for the 99-cent super chat. I appreciate that.
But speaking of that, and
then also Fabulous One, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker.
Nice.
This chat is guys, it's so hard to try to keep up with this. This chat is flying. But I love it. I appreciate you guys. I'm trying to like keep up.
There was
what were you about to say?
I remember on the podcast, like the companion podcast, that the one that runs the podcast, she's a Black woman, and she asked, I believe it was like either an author or somebody that was like specialized in like vampire lore, like it was like toward the first couple episodes. She asked if they considered this iteration of Interview with the Vampire Black horror. So, what do you think?
I would say yes. Mm-hmm. Only because even though the show is not, the showrunner isn't a Black man, the showrunner is a white man, but there are still Black people behind the scenes writing the show and writing, you know, not just as writer, but like I forgot the guy's name, but like he wrote like episodes 2 and 3. But so there's that, like you have Black people behind the scenes writing the show, but also not only just in the fact that Louis Black and Claudia is Black, but they're dealing heavily with Black issues. Mm-hmm. And it's not just Black and phenotype only.
Yeah, it's not like colorblind casting.
Yeah, no. So I would say because of that, and it's not, and it wasn't just like one episode and then we don't talk about it ever again. No, throughout every single episode, Blackness does come into play, even if it's in subtle ways. Like with Claudia in this episode saying, you know, talking about her massa, calling Lestat massa, giving, you know, slave references and things like that.
Also the fact that you couldn't go on the train normally.
Yeah, you couldn't go on the train normally because, you know, so I think because of that, I would consider this show Black horror.
Yeah, and I agree fully, because it's like another thing too, the response, because the woman that responded to, she said yes, because it's also just ingrained in like he has, like Louis has his family, like they're pretty prominent for more than half of the show, and they still pop up and they still exist, and he interacts with them, and what happens with them influences the story. So it's not just like the POC or Black character that you never see their family or you never see anybody else like them around them. No, like it's a whole community. And so I agree, because it's like typically in other horror movies or like other just media in general, you just have like your Black best friend or your Latina best friend or your Asian best friend, and we don't see any part of their culture. They just exist to be there. Like, but it's not like that here. Like, it's an integral part of the story, and it drives it forward, because the reason why Claudia is in the picture is because of a race riot. Like, it basically just keeps building the blocks. And yeah.
Speaking of building blocks, supporting the channel and building the blocks of the Black Gay Comic Geek LLC, Andre Clark, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. But also Alasia Meeks, you must have missed it, because she said, can we please talk about how Louis' assistant was in Daniel's memory, but he hasn't aged? Oh, we talked about Rasheed for like the first hour. Like, that was the first thing we talked about when we got on this live. So yeah, you probably have to go back and watch the replay. But yeah, like, we went, like, again, for like the first hour, we talked about Rasheed and what the hell is going on. Like, we were completely bamboozled. Like, talk about, and I'm good with predicting things. Oh. Not to say I'm always right all the time, but generally I could kind of see where the thing's going to go. But Rasheed, I was like, and you can go back and listen to the other episodes. I was like, nah, he's human. He's regular. He's normal. Like, there's nothing, he's weird, but there's nothing crazy about Rasheed. Bitch, you thought. That's exactly what happened.
We were very wrong. We would also end up in a church with 2 dead priests getting married to a person we've only known for a month. Like, we are that head empty.
And that's the thing. We don't know, like, is Rasheed a vampire or is he something else? Because there are other immortal beings in Anne Rice's world. So he might not be a vampire. He might be something else entirely. Because a lot of people that think he's Armand. But I don't think he's Armand, because especially with him being the servant, and then the talks about he's worshiping a god. If he was a vampire, granted, that could all be like words that he's saying like to like fool Daniel, but I don't necessarily think so. Like, why would he say things like, and then because we also see him praying.
Yeah.
So like, why would he say I'm worshiping a god if he himself is also a vampire? So he would be the same type of god. And yeah, also he's wearing the gloves.
Yeah.
Why is he wearing the gloves if he's also a vampire? I mean, Louis is not wearing gloves.
No, because again, like, why? What's one other vampire? You know, like, what?
So he could be another immortal being. Somebody, Fabulous said, my theory is he's Lestat from Tale of the Body Thief. Could be. I didn't read. Like I said, I've only read Interview with the Vampire, so I don't even know.
I don't know, but he doesn't come off as like, I feel like he wouldn't. I don't think so. But
Hey, it's Lily said, I think he's a sorcerer. He could be, because we know the Mayfair Witches is, which I actually need to. I'm gonna do that before when we get off this live. I need to buy the book so I can read. I at least want to read the first book before season 1 comes out in January. And if you guys, it comes out in January. And if you guys are up for it, maybe, and if Amanda's up for it, we can maybe come back for part 2 of the Mayfair Witch, because we know Mayfair Witches and Interview with the Vampire will combine at some point, because they do interact with each other.
I love Alexandra Mario too. Funnily enough, her brother, one of the characters in Mayfair Witches,
is what's his face? The Dory, Alex. Alec Lightwood.
Yeah. So they just be staying supernatural.
Granted, I don't know how gay Mayfair Witches is, so it might not.
I hope it's gay.
I hope it's gay, because I'm like, if I watch this show and I'm like, man, it ain't gay enough, I'm not watching it.
If it's not gay, just make it gay. Easy. Maybe don't have people talking to their sister
while they're having sex.
Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, so to go back to, I do think it's black horror. So
yeah, like and also like, okay, another thing too, back in the 70s flashback, speaking of Rasheed, do you think Rasheed and Louis knew each other then, or was that just like a weird meeting? Like,
oh no, they definitely knew each other. They were there. They were there together. There's no ifs, ands. I have no questions about that.
I have so many questions. Oh
Yeah,
god.
but speaking about the blackness of the show, Desi Green says, "Do you feel the tenseness and black horror when Claudia was seen back in from the train? I don't think she was seen, but she was out of focus. But you could see the fear in her eyes. Even the music was scary, given Jordan Peele.
Kind of, yeah. And also,
Yeah, because like I mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, despite her power, despite how powerful she is, how fast she is, at the end of the day, she's still black in America.
yeah,
So like, yeah, she might be able to take out 1, 2, 3, a couple people,
but she's
but
still in
I
the book.
don't. But I also don't think like because Lestat basically took out the whole train. I don't think Claudia will be able to do that because she's still in the body of a 14-year-old. So she has to be fearful. She has to be more crafty despite her level of power because yeah, at the end of the day, she's powerful, but she's still weak at the
Yeah,
same time.
really fight off other vampires either.
Yeah, she
Like,
can't fight even vampires that might potentially be older than her because I think based is Bruce older than her?
no, but Bruce is around the same age as her because Bruce turned in 20s, so Bruce is actually a younger vampire.
So that's what I was saying. I think she, or yeah, I mean, I said Bruce older, but I meant it the other way. Is Claudia older than Bruce? Because technically, yeah, Claudia should have been more powerful than him, but because
Now,
she's in that body of a 14-year-old, she's not.
yeah, like because Bruce was again he was turned in the 20s, and Claudia was turned in 1970.
17, yeah.
She's has a couple of years on him, but again, like she's in a smaller, weaker body by
Yeah, but even a couple of years, like the way vampire lore works, even if you're 1 year older than another vampire, that vampire that you're 1 year older than would never be able to match you in strength.
like it's yeah, like they just she couldn't fight him off either. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, she couldn't. So that's also the tragedy of Claudia, where it's like no matter how old she gets, she's still vulnerable.
Yeah, and that's kind of also why she needs a companion around her because it's like she went off on her own and shit went south. And hold on, the showrunner for the show,
is running other and okay, well, good because then that gives me more confidence in the other shows.
Yeah,
but then I hope he doesn't get too what am I trying to say?
Too big for his britches?
Not too big for his britches, but like he doesn't get too overwhelmed by running all these multiple projects all at once. Because I don't even think they're gonna stop at the Mayfair, which like they're probably gonna spin off another, like do another show or whatever. What'd you say?
An immortal universe in the beginning of everything, so I think they're just gonna do a whole ass everything, which like I'm here for it. I love spooky shit.
Because wasn't there another book that she did about black people, like light-skinned black people in the Creole South?
I'm blanking.
Let me Google it real quick.
Google this free. Dun, dun, dun.
It's what is it called? I think it's like, is it The Witching Hour?
Huh.
No, hold on. Let me Interview with the Vampire. The Feast of All Saints.
Huh. When did that come out?
It came out in 1979. So yeah, it's about like black people in the South and New Orleans. I don't know if they were supernatural or not, but I mean Anne Rice wrote mostly supernatural stuff, so I think they probably were supernatural. But yeah, they were like Creole or whatever, and almost kind of like Eve's Bayou in a sense. That's what I gathered from like reading the synopsis. But it makes me wonder if they're all Anne Rice world, does that connect at some point? So then maybe we'll see that at a certain point. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, and we just talked about them. Who knows? We don't know yet. You guys are gonna do lives together for Mayfair Witches? Maybe. We'll see. Who knows what the future holds? Do you guys want us to go live for the Mayfair Witches? That's the question. There you go.
I need more. Like that's the thing. It's like I feel like another. Like that's what
like Thor. Yeah,
I'll watch it.
Hopefully it's gay. If it's not gay enough, I'm not. I'm like fuck this shit. But see, look, I don't think it's gay. I don't think it's as gay. But I mean, it's not to say that's all I watch. Clearly, it's not because most stuff isn't gay. But yeah.
Easily make it though.
They could easily make it though. But I'm like, if it's good, I'll definitely watch it. And if the audience is there and they want us to go live to talk about it, because it might not end up being as popular as this show. So yeah, if the audience is there, Amanda and I and Amanda's willing, we'll talk about Mayfair Witches if you guys want us to.
I love spooky shit. So
the main couple is straight, sadly. Ew.
That's fine. I still root for straight people.
Look, it's a bit gay. Julian was my favorite witch. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Don't but yeah, Alec is from Shadowhunters. Yeah, that's
yeah. No, what I was saying earlier is that Alexandra Daddario, her brother is Matt Daddario, and he played Alec in Shadowhunters, and Alexandra is going to be in Mayfair Witches. So I just said it's like funny the whole family just stays in spooky shit. And also, Alexandra Daddario did play a vampire.
Oh, he did?
Alexandra, the sister.
Oh, the sister. I was like,
he played a vampire in American Horror Story. Alongside
her brother's fun. I was like,
alongside Lady Gaga. She played a vampire, I believe, from like the 20s or something. And she and Lady Gaga had a relationship with another man. So yeah.
Vampire strength rules confuse me. I mean, yeah, they kind of go in all forms of media. Anybody that has like super strength, it fluctuates. Like one moment, Superman is strong enough to pull the Earth, and then the next moment, he's getting beat up by Lex Luthor in a robot suit. Like so.
Yeah. I think it fluctuates to serve the plot.
Yeah, it fluctuates to serve the plot. Even with Buffy, she has super strength. One moment, she's strong enough to bend metal bars. And then the next moment, she's fighting regular humans, and like they're getting hits off of her. So it's like
just real people. Like sometimes you're strong enough to like lift a car off a baby, and then other times you can barely lift your cup of water because you have the flu. Like, I guess it just depends.
Yeah, but yeah, look, Claudia is 33 in this episode.
Yeah,
but still in the body of a 14-year-old. And somebody said Lestat gave her less blood when turning her. That makes her even weaker. Is that a thing? I think it's also the body that she's in as well. So.
Yeah, like, in a smaller frame, like yeah.
And when I say weak, I mean weak by vampire standard, because she's not weak at all. She's got super speed. She can kill. Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind, like, because they even kind of referenced it where it's like, and that's why, like, what happened with her with Bruce. Bruce is younger than her, and yet she still couldn't defend herself. Because by vampire standards, she's going to be weaker than even younger vampires, because she's in the body of a 14-year-old. So yes, when she's fighting against any human being, she can fuck up any human. But then also you get some like mobs of humans, because I even think about, somebody mentioned that in the chat, like the mob that went against Frankenstein. They were still more scarier than Frankenstein.
Yeah, like that's the thing where it's like she's not weak by like human standards. She has like super speed, super strength, like all these things. She could easily rip a human apart, and she has. She literally killed 56 people in a few months. Like, she went on a killing spree. She can and will kill people. By vampire standards, she is not very strong. Like, you even see in the fight with Louis and Lestat, Lestat can just throw her ass, and she's done. Like, she's gasping for air. Like, that's what I'm talking about, in the sense that, like, she cannot fight. Like, he will literally just throw them. And when you're going up against other vampires, which is again why Lestat was just like, you think I'm bad? Like, there are people that will literally, like, Lestat even like threatens to rip her to shreds.
Yeah, he does. Like, get off this train, come back to Louis. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do what he did, but I will rip you apart.
Yeah, like he can do it. He just has not. And that's the thing. It's like, if Lestat can and hasn't, imagine the people who can do more and have. Like, she's not that strong by vampire standards.
I saw a couple people bring this name up in the chat, and I don't know who that just said. Wait, I've never read about the Mayfair Witches, but yeah, it's coming in January. The trailer dropped, but hearing about Lasher being in someone's dreams creeped me out. Who is Lasher? Little Cherry T isn't the only one. I saw a couple people bring up Lasher. I'm like, who's Lasher? I don't know who Lasher is. Do you know who Lasher is?
No, we gotta read it.
Yeah, see, like, really, it's Jack A. V. Meadows. Lasher brought up Lasher, so I'm like,
I don't know who that is.
Guys, tell us who Lasher is.
Like,
is he like Freddy Krueger? Because he mentioned dreams.
Is he Freddy Krueger? But I don't know what that was. It's me trying to replicate.
Yeah, I was like, nah. I was like, what?
The hand. Sorry, you know what I mean when it comes.
Okay, so the Feast of All Saints isn't connected to the Vampire Chronicles or the Mayfairs, but Anne's Ramsey series is in the same universe. Okay,
gotcha. And so, yeah, that. Oh God! Like I keep thinking about Lestat literally using that guy's head as a puppet.
Like, oh yeah, that was funny though. That was funny to me though. I like blood, sex, gore, magic. That's the stuff I'm into. Like, so when he's like Jug, I was like,
he's so fucked up.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so fucked up, but I love it.
He's like, he's scary. Like, he's the thing. Like, why did he do that? For fun? Like, yeah.
For intimidation purposes.
Yeah, like that's just. He gives me the egg. Like everything about him now just like
Lasher is another immortal.
Okay. Like,
Lasher is one of the main antagonists in Mayfair Witches.
Okay.
But yeah, it was totally in character because he was trying to intimidate. Even though this is the same woman that went on a killing spree.
I know,
killed like 56 bodies and took body parts, but at the same time, it was Lestat doing it. It was somebody that she, because she was trying to escape. So killing everybody on the train was her was Lestat's way of saying, you ain't going nowhere. Like,
the gore that was bothering her is the fact that he could do it to her.
Yeah.
Like that, it's not the fact that he killed someone. They're vampires. They kill people. But it's the fact that he threatened to do it to her. And yeah.
Same. I think we're going to get it in the finale. I think we're going to see present day Lestat in the finale.
I'm so curious to see what he's doing. Like,
same. I mean, we know he becomes Rockstar Lestat at some point. So,
but like, I don't know if that's happened yet in this continuity.
No, I don't think it's happened yet. But I'm saying maybe he might be on that path.
Maybe. Louis, if they're back together, I'm gonna.
No, I feel like they're back together. I think they are.
Back together, I'm calling Maury Povich. Like, I can't do this, guys. Like, I can't do this.
But with that said, because I think we talked about everything.
I think so.
In this episode, because I see we're hitting the 3-hour mark. And I also see some people saying, oh, it's getting late. Good night. So I don't want to keep people up because it is midnight now on the East Coast and it is 9 p.m. on the West Coast. So with that said, any final thoughts on this episode and predictions maybe of next week's episode? Do you think we're going to see Lestat in the future? Like, give I guess the present, not the future.
I don't think we're gonna see Lestat. I think we might see him in the present in season 2. And the only reason I say that, and I don't think it's gonna be in the season finale, is because
Chansey, sorry to interrupt, but like, thank you so much for being in the live because you were here. I saw you in the comments for most of it, but like 4 a.m. girl. Are you a vampire? Like.
But I think what might be the case, because they are setting it up to end it on Louis and Claudia killing Lestat and running away. So I think it's going to end on them, quote unquote, killing Lestat. And because it is a series and not everyone has read the books, I think they might leave it on that cliffhanger. Just for the girlies that don't know what happens next. But I think that might be like the closeout, or I could be completely fucking wrong, and they could just be like, surprise, Shawty, and he's been in the apartment the whole time. Like,
I mean, but this could also be like him lying or being coy, like he didn't do any scenes with Sam Reed because maybe he did scenes with Lestat. Actors be lying. Andrew Garfield went on a whole press tour saying he wasn't in Spider-Man No Way Home, and then clearly he's in the movie. So
or I sound like a freaking seal, but or
Sleepers for the Week.
They could have been filming in different locations and still compile a scene together.
Yeah, true.
And which happens sometimes. Like, that's how they film a lot of Avengers movies, where like a lot of the actors aren't in the same room together; they just composite them together.
Yeah. Wait, no, I'm wrong. I meant to, not this one. But yeah, I'm one of them. I have to remember everyone hasn't read the book, so I try to keep major spoilers a secret. Yeah, the only book I've read was the first one, and it's been years ago since I've read the first one, so I barely even really remember the first book.
Yeah, I'm rereading the first book now to refresh myself, and it's nice to hear the lines that are taken directly from the book. Like, I have an accent, like, oh, that's from the book.
Yeah, we did talk about Antoine, and we think that Antoine is Antoinette. So we did talk about that earlier. So yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of Antoinette.
No.
To put it like, yeah.
Like, when I saw her crying outside with the cigarette, I was like, I felt that. Like,
where can I read the book? They're sold anywhere books are sold. You can get it, go to Amazon or go to bookshop.org, or you can get the audiobook.
Yeah, I'm rereading the audiobook right now. We're listening to it like a podcast, but yeah, it's my prediction is that
I want to see Rasheed and Lestat face off.
I want to see them throw hands. I'm really curious. Actually, I am curious. I'm curious to see how they kill Lestat.
I'm curious too.
Because in the books, Claudia poisons a person and has him drink the poison blood, and then the movie she has him drink blood from the dead. However,
from a dead person, yeah.
However, they can hear heartbeats. So I think she might go the poison route because he would know that the person's dead because he can't hear the heartbeat.
Or they might do, I mean, because also in the movie, they slit his throat and drained him of all his blood.
But that was after he got...
Yeah, that was after he did, but I was just saying, like, they could also maybe do that route when he's in his coffin. I don't know, because I feel like he would hear it.
He would hear it. I think he would definitely hear it. Like, also, he's the same person that, like, stays in a coffin for God knows how long.
Yeah, to wait for Claudia to come up. But then at the same time saying he would definitely hear it. We're also the same people are like, how do they not smell the corpse rotting in Claudia's room?
That was the one thing where I'm like, are y'all just used to smelling dead shit? Like, that has to be it. They just have to be used to smelling it.
After episode 5 and 6, I can't wait to watch Lestat die. we got to use die in quotes. Because clearly we're talking about all these other books. Lestat doesn't die. I hate to, but yeah, they're going to try. Not for lack of trying.
Like, it's kind of like Rasputin, where they try multiple times. Like, it's like they poison his ass, they slit his throat, they throw him in a fucking swamp, they set him on fire. It's like, that's a hot mess. But
Lestat, how do you feel about Lestat and Louis' relationship overall, and then just the trajectory of just them, Lestat, after episode 5, based on this episode? And that'll be the last question I'll ask you.
Oh God. Ugh. I guess what I've always said, they are terrible. They're terrible for each other, and they're horribly perfect for each other. They should not be together. I don't think that's going to stop them. And I don't know if couples therapy can fix it. But
no, I'm laughing at this comment right here. The reason why they couldn't smell the corpse is that maybe 20th century New Orleans is funky as hell.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, maybe they're just overwhelmed by smells all the time. That like they have.
But it's literally right. It's one thing to smell it like overall. Like there's one thing of like if there's a fire outside, I'm gonna smell it in my apartment. So there's that. But I said that. What? There's that. But at the same time, if there's a fire in my apartment, like I'll be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, no, like that was the one plot hole. I'll give them that. I'm not gonna have a point for the plot hole, but I don't think that they're gonna be able to stay away from each other, and that's not because I think toxic relationships are okay. It's just because I think that they just won't. Like, I think Lestat will pull some bullshit again at some point, piss me off, and then they'll be right back at square one.
Yeah, and I feel like this episode kind of proves that. Like they're gonna. I'm gonna stick. What is that, your man? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you want? I'm gonna stick by him. I'm gonna stick by him. But honestly, I'm with the Leisure Meeks on this. I'm still low key, still kind of rooting for them. They're both trash, but they're trash for each other, and I like it. I don't care.
Like,
Louis having sex with Lestat disgusted me. What disgusted me more is him having sex while talking to Claudia. Like,
yeah, that was the part where I was like, you're having a full ass conversation while you're getting.
But yeah, just like Jocelyn, eternity is long, so yeah, like constantly going back to each other. Like that's your maker. That's something we won't necessarily understand. Or
like it's like a cursed boomerang. Like it's just, that's how I feel about their relationship. A cursed boomerang. Like it keeps coming back. It's terrible and sharp and cuts you every time. But it's a boomerang. Like it comes back. So oh god. It's like their relationship is the equivalent to a cockroach in a nuclear war. Yeah.
He's gonna change. I think they have to redeem him somehow. I mean, I think they both because we see Louis in the present day is very different from Louis in the past. So I do feel like there's gonna be an evolution between the two characters. But the question is it a good evolution?
How? Because this Louis now is calmer. He is more level-headed, but he also got a lesson in gaslight girl bossing.
Yeah, he's gaslighting the fuck out of Daniel. So like that's why I say is it a good evolution? But speaking of, and I know I said we were gonna end, but a last thing, because we're at the end of the episode anyway, even though we talked about this in the beginning, but it's not so when we get to the flashback of 1970s, and it's something I asked you in private on Instagram. We know vampires can't change, like talking about, cutting your hair, it grows back or whatever. But like it looked like Louis had a whole ass like 70s fro. Like I'm like, did he change his hair? Like his hair looked completely different than it looked in the present, and then even looks in the 30s.
I think it's just picked out. And here's the thing too, like we have to remember, like it's still,
because even now his hair is kind of picked out in the present, but it doesn't look.
We live in real life, so I think that obviously costume designers, stylists, like they're just going to do what they can to convey what they can. However, I think in universe, it is just that he picked it out. Like, because I used,
and it's a terrible looking wig. Like I can almost see like,
yeah,
especially on the side.
Yeah,
you could like almost see where the wig start and his hair began. I was like, oh, that was like, this is like one of the first times in the show where I was like, this looks terrible.
you needed a different stylist to lay that wig home.
Yeah.
But I think it was meant to convey, because again, we live in real life, and obviously Jacob Anderson's not a vampire. So like,
yeah, and yes, it was definitely a Tyler Perry wig. Yes.
Not the Tyler Perry wig. No. Oh damn. But I think it was meant to convey, because like they can style it. Like we see Claudia style her hair, and we see Lestat has pulled his hair back and like they can style it, and his hair is textured, and textured hair has shrinkage. Like for example, like my hair looks different and looks different lengths depending on what I do with it. So if I flat iron it, it's gonna look longer. If I brush out the curls, it's gonna look like a different shape than if I leave it with the shrinkage and leave them sprung up. So I think it was just meant to convey that like it was the 70s. He just picked it out and he didn't use any product in it. And meanwhile, in like the 10s, 20s, 30s, like they obviously had different standards of how to do your hair back then, and he just did it in the standard of how it was. So I think it just changes based on the standard.
Okay.
But I think
definitely go back and go back, guys, and go look at that. Go look at that. Well, that wig looked terrible.
I think wig. Like honestly, it was a shitty wig, but I understand what they were trying to do. It just didn't come across.
Yeah, I get it. But with that said, you know what isn't terrible and who isn't terrible? Amanda just vibing. So yes, guys, thank you for being in this stream, being in live watching. For if you watched for the entire 3 hours and 9 minutes, thank you so much. If you came in a little bit late, it's no problem. If you want to go back and watch the live stream to see what you missed, I appreciate. But for those of you that are watching the replay, thank you for watching the live stream. And give your love, give your flowers, and give your kudos to Amanda just vibing. We'll be back next week, though. But Amanda, if you want to tell the lovely people where they can find you and what you got coming up.
Gotcha. All right. So you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Amanda just vibing. Vibing without the G at the end. And it's the same all across. I talk about media, commentary, comedy, gay vampires and chaos. And I that's pretty much what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm just super excited to keep doing that. But yeah, it was awesome talking. And I'm really excited to see this finale, and also not excited because I don't want it to end.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be ready for the finale, even though I might cheer when Lestat gets got.
I'll be pouring one out, but in a good way. Like I'm not sad.
Pouring out for the homie. Or not the homie. He's not the homie no more.
No, he's what's the opposite of homie? That bitch.
That bitch. But with that said, guys, like I said, if you're watching the replay or if you're here, if you jumped in live or later in the live, and if you haven't, hit the like button before you go, because I see some people saying I'm gonna go back and watch the first couple hours. Thank you so much. But make sure you hit the like button. Leave your comments on your thoughts on this episode. How do you feel about Lestat at this point? You said he's the ops, but yeah, how you feel about Lestat at this point? Do you feel like their relationship can recover? Let me know. What are your predictions of next week's episode? Let me know all your thoughts. Again, watch, like, share, comment, interact on this video for the All Gay Rhythm. And also, guys, before we go, make sure you eat your pineapples and honey. So with that, we out.